Hey everybody, Peter Mancuso here from a little show called Now That's What I Call a Franchise. Maybe you've heard of it. Before getting into this week's episode, I just wanted to talk about some stuff going on. We record our episodes, months in advance, but as of the release of this episode, both the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild have gone on strike against basically all of mainstream Hollywood, which is represented by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Basically, both unions are demanding their fair share of the profits that their hard work and dedication produces for these, multinational media conglomerates and their overpaid CEOs. Now, when SAG went on strike, there were some questions around what counted as promotion, something that could be considered crossing the picket line. And there's been a lot of confusion and misinformation and mixed signals about this, particularly for non-union members, even just covering older films released by these struck companies. And on our show, that's all we do, right? We've covered 3 franchises owned by Disney, which I think speaks volumes about the state of the industry. And now we're focusing on Batman, which of course is owned by Warner Brothers. So what do? Well, after sifting through all the information the best we could, we've decided to continue our release schedule as planned. We're not doing this out of laziness. If anything, delaying our schedule would actually give us more time that we desperately need to watch these films and record our thoughts. But by releasing our episodes as planned, we at least have the chance to insert this intro and make it clear in no uncertain terms, Viviana and I and the New Arts Workshop stand with workers. Above and below the line, striking or not, unionized or not. And we're not going to remove this intro from our episodes until the studios satisfy the union's demands. If you want to help the cause, post about it on social media or donate to each union's respective strike funds. Alone, we can't do anything. Together, we can change everything. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Time for the show. You're listening to the New Artist Workshop.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
This town needs an enema.
Hello and welcome back to your favorite podcast. Now that's what I call a franchise. I'm Peter Mancuso.
And I'm Peter Mancuso. No, just kidding. And I'm Viviana.
Thank you for clarifying. You're just kidding.
And I'm Viviana Metzger, and this is the show where Peter and I pick a film franchise and go through every single installment. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Not the film, but the franchise.
Mm-hmm. And to be clear, we're defining
the installment.
Yes, I know. And to be clear, we're defining a franchise as a series of films with at least 4 entries. So, Viviana, what are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about the 1989 film Batman. And of course, this is your one and only spoiler warning. So if you haven't watched the movie, go do that before listening to this episode. And where did we watch it? On HBO Max?
Yeah, from this point forward, almost everything, if not everything, is going to be on HBO Max.
Okay.
Because we're in a modern era, and I think at this point Warner Brothers produced everything from this point forward.
Yeah, so go watch it on HBO Max or whatever the hell it's called now. But yeah, go see that. Let's get into it, dude.
All right, so give us the letterbox blurb. This is your job. Now.
So I know.
Oh, okay. Well.
The Dark Knight of Gotham City begins his war on crime, with his first major enemy being the clownishly homicidal Joker, who has seized control of Gotham's underworld.
Ooh, that's a pretty good blurb. Letterbox blurb, I think. I like clownishly homicidal.
Yeah.
I've been referred to as homicidally clownish.
What?
So let's talk about some basic info of the movie, okay? So this was directed by Tim Burton. Really obviously famous director, but at the time, this was only his 3rd feature film after Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, I think, being the most obvious, parallel from that to this. Just that they're both kind of spooky-ish in parts.
yes, yeah.
And also Michael Keaton is in both, as the title character in both.
Is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
Michael
he's
Keaton
the dad?
is Beetlejuice.
Oh, Beetlejuice. That's right. I don't know what he looks like. He's got all that crap on his face.
That's Michael Keaton.
Anyways, you know, Pee Wee got arrested for indecent exposure.
Yeah, I think he was like masturbating at a theater or something, right?
Yeah. Well, apparently it was you see, I don't understand. You're gonna make an adult theater and show these films.
That's why they existed. Because you couldn't watch it at your own house. What are you supposed to do? Watch it and then log it all in your brain and then go home and no.
They had to have had, some inkling that would happen. Anywho.
Yeah. Anyway.
Michael Keaton.
I'm done defending masturbation in adult theaters now.
No.
It was written by Sam Hamm.
Do it decently.
Yes.
Sam
Hamm and Warren Skaaren. Hamm co-wrote a movie called Never Cry Wolf. I don't know what that is. And Skaaren co-wrote Beverly Hills Cop 2 and Beetlejuice.
Oh.
So it's kind of a connection there.
Okay.
It was produced by John Peters and Peter Guber. Two Peter-ish names there. Yes. John Peters, his producing kind of claim to fame, he had produced the 70s version of A Star is Born with Barbra Streisand, as well as The Witches of Eastwick and Caddyshack 2. And Peter Guber had also co-produced with him Witches of Eastwick and Caddyshack 2. It was distributed by Warner Brothers. Again, this is going to be whether it be Warner Brothers.
2, not also.
What did I say?
No.
Caddyshack 2 is in the second installment. Yeah, sorry. Distributed by Warner Brothers. Again, going forward, either Warner Brothers or like Warner Home Media or some other kind of division of Warner Brothers is going to be the one making these movies. It was released in June of '89, so like peak '80s summer blockbuster era for sure. It was made for a budget of about $48 million, and it grossed about $412 million, which I believe is the second highest percent return of any of these movies. So it was very, very successful, hugely successful, especially in terms of merchandising. Merchandising was huge.
I wonder what those look like. I wonder if we could find them. Probably can, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Scary, like...
Well, it's not just costumes. It might be action figures or lunch boxes just with the Batman logo. Like, it doesn't have to be a people.
I was thinking... No, I know. I was thinking, like, plush toys. Are you drinking my water?
Yeah, I just saw some of her water.
Thank you for clarifying.
Well, I mean...
No, I was just thinking of, like stuffed dolls. But I guess all that, too, yeah.
I think more so, like,
pails.
boy stuff. Boys don't want to play with plush dolls. Batman's for boys.
Well, there's plush dinosaurs, you know?
Yeah, but now...
You gotta...
All the kids are woke now. No. They're all snowflakes now.
No, you wanna go to sleep with Batman, you know? You don't wanna just...
Vicky Vale went to sleep with Batman.
No, I just mean you don't always want an action figure because you can't cuddle an action figure without poking yourself in the eye or something.
So had you seen this before?
Yes.
You had? Okay. So tell us about your previous experience with the movie. Like, what do you remember about? Did you remember liking it, or... Because I only had seen it one time, and I wasn't super into it. I saw it as a kid. You'd think I'd be like the perfect audience for it, and I was like, that's fine.
Honestly, I don't remember many details of my experience with it, but I do remember it. Once again, I think I have mashed some memories together. So I also thought this was the one with Penguin, but...
Penguin?
Yeah.
You said penguin.
Penguin. Who cares?
I care!
People in Boston say khakis for car keys.
Yeah, well, that's how it's spelled. No, I'm just joking.
Anyway, shut up!
No, Danny DeVito's the Penguin's the next one.
Yes. But I do remember the museum scene.
And the restaurant, because we were like,
yes,
we were both like before. We were like, oh, this is the one with the restaurant. It's like, no, it's like a museum. There's a restaurant in the museum,
yes,
so we were both right.
So which just happens so often. It's so annoying. But Yeah, so not the museum, but the restaurant scene when they're upstairs.
Yeah.
So that, and then, of course, just, the guy, what's his name? I forgot his name. Oh, Jack Nicholson.
The guy.
He's a really...
Prolific, acclaimed actor, and you reduced him to the guy.
I was thinking about something else. Anywho, no, yeah, so of course Jack Nicholson, I think primarily because he scares me. I'm a grown woman and I'm scared of Jack Nicholson.
Even when he's not the Joker.
Yeah, even when he's not the Joker. I don't know. He's just something about his face and his eyebrows that just... This seems creepy to me. It just seems very...
Because less than a decade before this, he's doing The Shining, right?
Yeah.
Which I feel like is like basically his Joker audition.
Yes.
Almost, in a way.
Yes, definitely. And he's definitely scary. I think he's scarier in that role than he is in this one. But, yeah.
Because that one's just straight terror.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, he's scary, but he's also like kind of funny.
Yeah.
But he has such a presence.
I will say, watching this now, I mean, I know we're going to watch the newer ones later, but watching this now in comparison with the newer stuff, like, I kind of liked a little better because he was more jokery and less, like, just mentally ill, like... No, I know, but no.
That's fair.
Do you
yes.
see what I'm saying? Like with, what's his name? Oh, the licking man who died.
The licking man.
Heath Ledger.
Oh, because he like licks his lips sometimes?
Yeah, he licks...
The licking man!
Licking man who died.
The licking man who died.
Anywho, like with Heath Ledger, like, it's like, he looks silly, but he's just being scary. And like...
It's a very disturbing performance.
Yeah, and then also with Joker, like, he's just being scary, where it's like the laughing or like the Jokerness is like uncomfortable. Where this is like, I don't know. I just kind of like this one more. It was like a little bit more fun, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've seen this and I remember bits and pieces of it.
Do you remember do you remember how you felt? Like, did you like it? Did you really like it? Or I guess not enough to revisit it ever.
Well, like I said, I don't know how many times I've seen it, but yeah, I mean, I think I remember liking it. Again, I think I'm primarily thinking of the next one.
Because the Catwoman's in that one.
Yeah, I don't know, something about Penguin. It was just like
from what I heard, because I have not seen Batman Returns, which is the one after this.
The next one, yeah.
I have not seen it, but from what I've heard, it quality-wise is better, but it was darker, so it didn't do as well financially. And then that kind of inspired then the one after that, Batman Forever, was like very colorful, very goofy, like it was almost kind of like the 60s stuff.
Yeah. Better in story or
I think just
production.
I don't know. That's that. But yeah, I saw this when I was I saw this when I was a kid. I'm gonna file this under movies that I for some reason got a DVD of, but don't know why. I think someone must have given it to me, like for a birthday or Christmas or whatever, like, and I watched it and was kind of like lukewarm about it.
Oh really?
And I don't think I'd seen the Dark Knight or Batman Begins. Like, I think I saw this pretty young, so it's not like I was comparing it to like other Batman stuff. I was just not into it really as a kid. I remember not really caring for like the tone or like the plot or anything. But here's the thing, there's been plenty of movies, and this is like one of the joys of movies, is like, I might have that experience watching something when I'm like 8, and then revisit it, and like, not only do I like it, but it's like, oh, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Or the reverse.
Yeah.
I think I feel exactly the same way as I did when I was like 8 years old.
Oh, really?
I can kind of do without this one. It's a net positive.
Really?
But it's a net positive for me, but I'll just spoil it now, like, I think it's okay. It's just like, it's fine. There's stuff I really like, but if I never saw it again, I'd be like, okay, like, whatever.
Well, I don't think it's continuously go back to kind of thing, but I don't know. I also put on Bullet Train in the background while I'm working, so who knows? But yeah,
that's. I think Bullet Train's better than this movie.
Well, hold on.
I like Bullet Train.
No, I like Bullet Train. Yeah. Anywho, yeah, I guess we just have like different opinions in that sake because, like, I think when I was a kid, I thought it was a lot cooler than I think it is now, just because like. Now I notice, like, that he can't turn his neck. Or, like, you know, just, like, the silly...
The wire when he's gliding. They don't even try to hide it.
The wire.
Which I'm not someone to really care about that stuff. That's not why I don't like the movie that much, but that's just funny. Like, where it's like, you really see the edges.
No, yeah. It's just, like,
Well, see the stitches, I should say.
Yeah, it's just, like, the, what did I say? It's, like, internal noise. It's, like, I don't really care, but like if a glass is like empty or like almost empty in one shot and then it's full in the next shot, then it's like something that I think about, you know. So it's,
you really notice that stuff.
Yeah. So it's not like oh my gosh, there's a wire. Like obviously he's on a wire, but it's just like LOL. Like,
well, it takes you out of the experience.
That's something that we're not supposed to see, you know, or not normally see. But that's also interesting what you say about like tone because. So do you just feel that way about Tim or just this movie? Because I'm a big Tim fan, and I like the dark.
Maybe tone is the wrong word. Like
the style.
Well, that's one of the things that I think one of my
stylish.
The things that I like about it are directorial. Mm-hmm. Like, and we'll get into the like. I have a lot of research and background on this that I want to get into. So we'll definitely we're gonna cover our opinions on it, but just to kind of give you a little appetizer.
I just mean like style wise.
Like I like the style. Like I like the aesthetics. I like it's more like the story. Like I think the script is pretty flat. Mm-hmm. But it just I don't find myself feeling very invested. Mm-hmm. Really.
There were some things that I was like, that was kind of like pulling me out. Like we were talking about, we were trying to figure out. I remember her now from the restaurant scene and her taking off the mask, but for like 20 minutes I couldn't figure out if Vicky Vale was the rich guy's girlfriend or not.
With the blonde
because
lady,
they both have long blonde hair.
And they both have similar fit. They do kind of look similar.
I know that's silly, but like we barely...
It's reverse racism.
No, we barely see her, first of all. And second of all, I thought it was weird because there's a bunch of, like, Vogue-like shots that are all hung up in the apartment that they're in, you know, Jack. And then... And I don't even know her name. The other... The lady, the girlfriend.
Vicky Vale?
No.
Oh, the actress.
And then...
yeah.
And then later, they introduce Vicky Vale, but they're like, oh, like, one of the things she used to do was shoot for Vogue. So it's like, oh, like you know.
There were all those portraits in the girlfriend's place.
Presumably the same person because of the connections, but apparently not.
No.
And then, what was the other thing? And then some of the stuff, like, I don't know, I didn't understand, like, how, I guess, like, the bullet ricocheting off. So it just, like, went through his face? Like...
What are you talking about?
Or what... The Joker when he was getting turned into the Joker, like
no, I think he got smacked with some chemicals before he fell into the big pool of the chemicals, and that's why his face was.
See, but it's
up.
unclear.
It's not the best action, especially for because you could see that they wanted to be making this movie in 2000. Like the effects, like the state of visual effects and how it wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that does speak to like his costume. Like he's pretty immobile. You know, so they lean a lot on like the camera angles and the cutting to make the action a little bit more exciting.
I think he definitely is more of a presence
compared to the Christopher Nolan ones, where the whole thing is that like. And this is partially from the comics, but the whole thing about the Christian Bale ones is that he's basically a ninja. He was trained by ninjas, basically.
Yes, the man
so those versions are,
the man in the snow.
Especially once you get to the Dark Knight, because even Batman Begins, he has a thing where he can't turn his head really.
Yeah.
So that's even they literally make fun of it. And they make fun of it in the Dark Knight. So he has the old costume on before, and then early in the beginning, he's talking to Morgan Freeman's character, Lucius Fox, who makes him the stuff, and he's like, "I have some ideas," and he's like, "You want to be able to turn your head." So then, but then his new costume, he's able to. It's
Oh
like
yes, that's right. He does make all the gadgets.
so. So that aids in making the action a little bit more dynamic. But what I was going to add is.
Which is fine. I'm not harping on it for that reason, but it's just like now watching it, knowing that, it's like, oh, like LOL.
I've talked about this in previous episodes. My theory on every main Batman movie reflects the political climate of the time.
Yes,
but another thing that all the mainline Batmans is that they always, redefine how dark Batman can be. Right?
Yes.
So, like, you have the 60s one, right? Which, obviously, no one really took seriously. And then you get this one, and people were like, finally, Batman's serious. And then you go back and watch it, like, oh, it's kind of silly. But then the Christopher Nolan ones come out, and you go, oh, Batman's finally serious. And then you go back and watch those, and the climax of Batman Begins is, he's gonna poison the water supply, right? So then you're like, we get to the Robert Pattinson one, it's like, now Batman's serious. And I'm sure in 15 years we'll look back at the Robert Pattinson one and it'll be silly, right? So there's always always like this sliding scale of like
execution, but
the most serious, like
it's definitely, I think objectively it's gotten more dark, but I mean stylistically maybe it is.
No, I don't mean it is getting darker, but like there's still things about it that are silly. Is the thing that it's like we always think we finally cracked it.
Yeah.
It's like we have the non-silly Batman, but we forget it's a dude running around like a bat. So it's always gonna be silly.
Yeah.
There's nothing unsilly about that premise.
You kind of forget, like, if he's not in like his cool body armor or whatever, that he's just a dude like in a Halloween costume,
dressing up
basically.
like running around. Yeah.
And also, like, I guess I don't know about any of the movies going forward, but all the ones that I can think of don't include him. But I guess like what we were talking about in the last episode, in the last episode or so, they just kind of like do away with Robin.
That's the thing is they like I said, ignoring any like potential animated movies that like I haven't seen. Most of these that we're gonna watch, Robin is probably only maybe in 5 of them tops.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. So he was in the 3 serials. The 2 serials. The Adam West one. Mm-hmm. So that's 3. He will be, I believe, in Batman. He's definitely in Batman and Robin, the one from the 90s.
Yeah.
He may be in Batman Forever. I don't know if they introduce him there. And then maybe shows up in an animated thing or two. He's like the Lego Batman movie.
Oh yes.
So not many, but if we're talking like almost 40 movies, like over 3 dozen movies.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm really surprised that this
Robin was actually going to be in this. I'll talk about in my research. They had, and up to the very, like, right before shooting, they cut the character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a whole... Do you want me to get into some research here?
Well, I was going to say... I'm sure you have something on it, but... literally the first bullet. But I'm so surprised because what was the last one? 66, and this is 89. That's like 23 years of like no Batman.
And I don't think there was even any other TV shows really.
Oh, I thought you said the show was running. No.
Yeah, but that ended by like the late 60s. So besides syndication. And
what was that?
Maybe
that
like
was
some
live?
animated like Super Friends, like Justice League kind of thing.
Was that live action or was that
the Adam West one?
Oh
yeah.
Yes, the Adam West. Okay.
So I'm saying it's not
animated.
No,
that came out in the 90s.
That comes out basically in response to the success of this. Almost, and we'll get to that because, like I said, we're not going to cover the show, but the show had a movie.
Yeah.
So I figured I would throw in some research about like the show.
Yeah.
As well, kind of like because without
like the Adam West one.
I was exactly I was kind of worried about doing anything tied to the show, but I watched some of the show and it's like as long as you kind of have an understanding of Batman, you can kind of watch any episode out of order. Like there's not really like a strong continuity. Is that the one you
were watching, or was
that
like a newer?
No, that's the old one.
That's the one. Okay.
Which hot take? I think it's fine. People are like, it's like one of the greatest pieces of anime. Like, it's really slow. Maybe it gets better. I've like watched 30 episodes of this show. It's pretty boring. I'm kind of bored.
Oh my god.
But anyway, the movie's supposedly really good that they made. But anyway.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously, as we can see, like, you know.
Well, you can see. They can't see.
Well,
I haven't said anything.
I just get, you know.
In the late 1970s, Batman's popularity was waning. Just now you have the context of the first bullet you keep referring to.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, the interest waxes and wanes, but I
This
don't
is
know.
also...
I still just think that's interesting. That's just like a really long time. It just seems like not even just like one other one. Like...
I could be slightly off about the years, but again, this is also a long period where comics, as a business and art form, are also kind of waning. Like there's like the golden age of comics, then there's something called like the silver age, where it's kind of like just weird shit was going on, and then like the popularity was definitely waning. So it's not just Batman like in film, like just this character. People were like kind of, because most people's understanding of the character was the Adam West show.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, and I'm also I will point out that I am saying that with the bias, or I guess with the lens more so, of the time we're in now, which is like hyper superheroes, you know, like
it's become the dominant
it's like the
form
thing
of
yeah
blockbuster.
Whereas like beforehand you know.
So it's starting to wane. It's starting to reach a critical mass. It's starting to kind of wane on that, but I don't know, we could, but anyway,
that wasn't like the main thing in the 70s and 80s.
No, but that's something we were talking about when we talked about Indiana Jones, right? So things like Jaws and Star Wars really kicked off like the blockbuster era, but blockbusters were different back then than today. Because back then it was just a blockbuster, was just like a really expensive movie where you put all your money into it, hoping that you would make a lot of tickets.
Tentpole.
No, exactly, right? Like E.T. wasn't based on anything. It was a blockbuster, right? This is that era, right, where it's like this happens to be based on something, but it wasn't necessarily successful because of that. If anything, it was successful in spite of the IP, because people had such a not bad taste, but just a different. It wasn't like a serious action character in film.
Something is a blockbuster based on response, but it's
no, it is
based
but
on money.
No, it is based off the response, but like the idea is that you're making it to hopefully be a blockbuster. Like you're specifically pouring all this money in because you think you're able to make it up. You're not going to put $100 million into something like Moonlight, as great as it is, because it's not going to make enough money to make a profit.
Yeah.
Right? That's why they'll put like, you know, like one of the Star Wars sequel movies was like $300 million. Because they know it's going to make like $2 billion or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
They know that they'll be able to make money off of it. But
that's a lot of money.
Let me do some background here to give you a sense of what's going on.
Yes, please.
So I don't know if you knew this, but in the late 70s, Batman's popularity was waning.
I might have heard it.
Like a waning moon.
I might have heard it a time or two.
Producers Benjamin Melniker and Michael E. Uslan purchased the film rights of Batman from DC Comics in 1979. It was Uslan's wish to, quote, make the definitive dark, serious version of Batman. The way Bob Kane and Bill Finger, who created the character in the comics, the way they had envisioned him in 1939. A creature of the night stalking criminals in the shadows. What's funny about that?
You have to cut that out.
I refuse to cut that out.
No, it's really loud.
Uslan was unsuccessful with pitching Batman to various movie studios because the studios wanted the film to be similar to the campy 60s television series.
Yeah,
so again, they had a very narrow idea of like what Batman could be on screen.
Yeah.
Whereas he's really trying to push for like a darker, like more true to like the origin of the character. A disappointed Uslan then wrote a script titled Return of the Batman to give the film industry a better idea of his vision for the film. Uslan later compared its dark tone to that of the successful 4-part comic book, The Dark Knight Returns, which his script predated by 6 years. So can I give some context on The Dark Knight Returns? It's a very influential Batman story. It comic book run. And there was actually an animated adaptation of it that we'll get to at some point. It kind of fits into this era of 80s comics, like after like the really silly 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah. With employing what people have termed like grim dark. The idea where it's like everything has to be gritty and dark, whatever. And sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes things were still good, but a lot of things were just grim and dark for its own sake. So you see like Watchmen being written in this era, some like, you know, other stuff that you have Frank Miller doing stuff like over at Marvel.
I feel like whenever I
think Frank Miller wrote The Dark Knight Returns. We also talked about Frank Miller. He wrote some Daredevil comics. He wrote, I believe he wrote the run of Wolverine in Japan. I think we talked about Frank Miller way back when we did the Wolverine.
Yeah.
But anyway, so just a little bit of what were you guys say? You look like
well, I think more film noir, like 40s, 50s. Well, I guess 40s. Like kind of wannabe pseudo like detective type thing. Not so much like gritty and dark. Like I don't know, but I guess that's just me. But I guess that's what I envision like Batman being, because like
that's why I like the Robert Pattinson one, because it's mostly like a mystery movie. Like he's like solving crimes and riddles.
Yeah,
and stuff, right?
because he's not like a superhero, like in a like super sense, right? like in a Superman sense, right?
He doesn't have any powers.
He doesn't have any powers, so he's just a dude. So he made.
You know who else doesn't have? You know who else didn't have any powers? The first responders at 9/11.
What is
that? And they are heroes.
Of course. I'm just saying. Oh my god. I'm just saying that.
I agree with that. I see your point. I don't know what point you're trying to make.
I think that having the super silly is maybe a too silly.
But then the other extreme is like super dark.
Yeah, the extreme of him, just being, I don't even know how you would even call that.
Like an anti-hero almost.
Yeah, like an anti-hero. Yeah, like an anti-hero, and like kind of just like all up in his feels and stuff. Like maybe a little bit, but like I just feel like those are two extremes where like he could be like more in the middle. Like yes, obviously something is like wrong with him as he's been traumatized and now he is a grown man who dresses as a bat. But like he's also like kind of trying to do law outside of the law, like what we were talking about like in the last episode.
We've talked about probably every episode.
So I think like it would be more sophisticated than just like, oh, I gotta go save the day. Like I don't know.
This movie is nothing like The Dark Knight Returns, but just to give you a sense of, again, like they kind of compared it to that in terms of like what they wanted like it to be darker. So if I can, I'd like to read this little paragraph summarizing the basic premise of The Dark Knight Returns. It tells an alternative story of Bruce Wayne, who at 55 years old returns from retirement to fight crime and faces opposition from the Gotham City police force and the US government. The story also features the return of classic foes such as Two-Face and the Joker, and culminates with a confrontation with Superman, who is now a pawn of the government.
What?
So it's a lot more complex, I think was like the point, is that Usley wanted...
old?
Because he breaks
a hip.
In November of 79, producers John Peters and Peter Guber, you may have heard of them, they joined the project. The four felt it was best to pattern the film's development after that of Superman, the 1978 Christopher Reeve film, which was kind of like the first real superhero film. That wasn't like a serial, right? Or the Batman.
The one with Marlon Brando, right?
As Jor-El, yes. Yeah. Though no movie studios were yet involved, the project was publicly announced with a budget of $15 million in 1980 at the Comic Art Convention in New York. Eventually, Warner Brothers, the studio behind the successful Superman film franchise, decided to accept and produce Batman. Because again, this is before DC owned the rights. Warner Brothers bought DC.
Yes. Okay.
So it just so happens that they produced it. Tom Mankiewicz completed a script titled The Batman. No, that was come out till 2022. In June of 83, focusing on Batman and Dick Grayson's origins. Dick Grayson is Robin. Yeah. The Batman was then announced in late 83 for a mid-1985 release date on a budget of $20 million. Just for context, the final film was like $48 million, so we're getting more and more expensive as we go. A number of filmmakers were attached to the script, including Ivan Reitman and Joe Dante. Reitman had directed Ghostbusters. Joe Dante had directed Gremlins. So these were kind of interesting picks for the material. And Reitman wanted to cast Bill Murray as Batman and Eddie Murphy as Robin.
What? That would be far too silly.
9 rewrites were performed by 9 separate writers. After the financial success of Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 85, Warner Brothers hired Tim Burton to direct Batman. Burton had then-girlfriend Julie Hickson write a new 30-page film treatment, Invisible Labor. I bet you didn't get credit for that. He felt that the previous script by Mankiewicz was too campy. So speaking of The Dark Knight Returns, the comic book, the success of that and the graphic novel Batman, The Killing Joke, which is also kind of like a dark Batman story, written by Alan Moore, who did Watchmen, right? The success of these comic book runs that portrayed Batman a little bit more darker and more gritty, it rekindled Warner Brothers' interest in a film adaptation. Because at this point, it was kind of like languishing. It was kind of languishing.
They wanted to back that?
Yeah, they saw something, that there was interest in Batman being like, oh, kind of cool. Batman could be cool. Because he wasn't cool. He was Adam West running around going like, groovy, Batman, groovy, Robin.
He was pretty cool.
Just from context on The Killing Joke, which was also adapted into an animated film, so we'll get there. The Killing Joke provides an origin story for the supervillain the Joker, presented via flashback, while simultaneously depicting his attempt to drive Jim Gordon insane and Batman's desperate attempt to stop him. Burton was not initially a comic book fan, but he was impressed by the dark and serious tone found in both of those comic book runs. Burton approached Sam Hamm, a comic book fan, to write the screenplay. Hamm decided not to use an origin story, feeling that flashbacks would be more suitable and that, quote, unlocking the mystery would become part of the storyline. So it is interesting how I think it's only Batman Begins do we really get a proper origin story for Batman. In any of these live-action films, anyway. Right?
I guess so, yeah.
Because the Robert Pattinson one, he's younger, but he's been on the prowl for like 2 years. That's like the whole idea, is that he's like a new Batman, but it's not day one.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I think so. I can't think of any other one, like, seeing him as a kid.
Like, Batman Begins, like, it's literally... Like, you may have flashbacks to certain movies. Like, this one has a flashback.
No, not the flashbacks, but like...
The whole point of that movie is about setting up his origin.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally called Batman Begins. It's not... Batman continues to do what he's been doing. You know, so... Batman perseveres. So, like I said, they wanted to kind of unlock the mystery. He reasoned that, quote, you totally destroy your credibility if you show the literal process by which Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. Christopher Nolan would beg to differ, and that one's like one of the greatest movies ever made, so... Warner Brothers was less willing to move forward on development, despite their enthusiasm for Hamm's script, which Bob Kane, who created the character, greeted with positive feedback.
Oh, that's cool.
So the creator was like, I like this.
Yeah.
Because at this point, these dudes were still alive,
That's
right? That's kind of interesting,
sign.
right?
Yeah.
It's like weird because Superman is almost 100 years old, like the character. He first debuted in 1938. And what is it? So about 85 years old, the character. Whereas at this point, it's like maybe 50 years by that point. So
the same was the same for Stan. And now he's dead. Now he's gone.
That is true.
No, Stan.
Batman was finally given the green light, the movie, not the character. Batman was finally given the green light to commence pre-production in April of '88 after the success of Burton's Beetlejuice the same year. So that kind of helped re-juice everything up, right?
Yeah.
When comic book fans found out about Burton directing the film with Michael Keaton starring in the lead role, controversy arose over the tone and direction Batman was going in. Hamm explained, quote, they hear Tim Burton's name and they think of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. You think of the 1960s version of Batman, and it was the complete opposite of our film. We tried to market it with a typical dark and serious tone, but the fans just didn't believe us.
That's so
Until it
weird.
came out, at least, right?
That is so weird because I wouldn't even picture Tim
because at this point,
anywhere near something like Pee-wee. Like,
that was his first feature film.
No, I know, but like his style, he is known, like his signature thing.
It's like the gothic kind of like family friendly horror, like in a sense. Like it's not horror, but
so dark. Yeah, like what?
At least color palette wise.
You know, so it's just like silly that this movie from Tim Burton's gonna be so silly. It's gonna be just like the Adam West one.
Color palette wise, subject matter wise, he is now known. But again, think about Beetlejuice is kind of dark, but it was still a comedy.
No, I know.
And then so I'm saying at this point,
he's fine with that. He's fine with some comedy, but just I
think people's concerns make sense if you consider the only films he had made up to that point were basically
it's totally valid. It's just funny now.
It'd be I'm trying to think of an example. Well, you know what it's kind of like? The director of The Hangover directing Joker. Which is what it is. Yeah. Todd Phillips, which is also kind of weird. But that movie I don't think is that great. But anyway.
Joker?
Joker.
Oh. What? Really? I think
it's okay. We'll get to it. I
thought you really liked it.
When I first saw it, I really liked it, and then I watched it at home, and I was like, I have some problems with this. But we'll get there.
Okay.
So let's talk about casting for a second. So, we mentioned that Michael Keaton, kind of made people a little concerned, but...
Why was that? Oh, because of Beetlejuice? Or no, because he had acted in...
He had just didn't seem like the right fit, based off of his other performances.
Is he supposed to be attractive? I don't know. I don't really find him that attractive. I thought he kind of looked like Billy Crystal in
When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
The only thing then, because they both have curly hair, and at one point he wears a turtleneck. That's the only reason.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
If you look up Billy Crystal and you look up Michael Keaton, you're going to be like, oh.
No, but not old Billy Crystal, like Billy Crystal.
No, yeah. Anyway, yeah, you do that while I talk about important things. A who's who of Hollywood top stars were considered for the role of Batman, including Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, Charlie Sheen, Tom Selleck, Bill Murray, Harrison Ford, and Dennis Quaid. Burton was pressured by Warner Brothers to cast an obvious action movie star and had approached Pierce Brosnan, but he had no interest in playing a comic book character.
Oh, yeah.
Burton was originally interested in casting an unknown actor at the time, Willem Dafoe.
Oh, interesting.
Who was falsely reported to be considered for the Joker, but had actually been considered for Batman early in the development. Well, can we just say he would be a phenomenal Joker? He basically plays the Joker when he's playing the Green Goblin. Like, he's doing like this kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, he was crazy for the
in Spider-Man.
Yeah, for the Green Goblin.
Producer John Peters suggested Michael Keaton, arguing he had the right, quote, edgy, tormented quality, after seeing his dramatic performance in a film called Clean and Sober. Having directed Keaton in Beetlejuice, Burton agreed. So they really saw something in him that I think the general public was very confused about until they saw it. Keaton's casting, like I said, caused a controversy among comic book fans, with 50,000 protest letters sent to Warner Brothers officials, Warner Brothers offices. Kane, Hamm, and Uslan also heavily questioned the casting. Quote, obviously there was a negative response from the comic book people. I think they thought we were going to make it like the 1960s, like we said, and make it campy, because they thought of Michael Keaton from Mr. Mom and Night Shift and stuff like that. So he must have been in some comedies as well. Tim Curry, David Bowie, John Lithgow, Brad Dourif, Ray Liotta, and James Woods were considered for the Joker. Burton wanted to cast...
Such weird choices.
Burton wanted to cast John Glover. Do you know who John Glover is?
The black guy from...
Thinking Danny Glover.
From Star Wars?
No, that's Billy D. Williams.
Oh, no.
Lionel Luthor on Smallville.
Yes, okay.
John Glover.
Yes. I knew that name sounded familiar. Okay, yes, John Glover. Yes.
Burton wanted to cast him as the Joker.
Oh, that would be good.
That'd be kind of interesting, right? But the studio insisted on using a movie star. Fun fact, Robin Williams lobbied hard for the part. Like, he really, really wanted to play the Joker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's funny because you don't think of Robin Williams like that, but he was in a Christopher Nolan movie called Insomnia. Mm-hmm. And it's... The long story short, Al Pacino plays like a cop who gets sent to Alaska to investigate some murder or whatever, and Robin Williams plays the serial killer, and he's really good. He's really, really good as the character. Jack Nicholson had been the studio's top choice since 1980. Peters approached Nicholson as far back as 1986 during filming of The Witches of Eastwick. Remember I said that he produced that, and I guess Nicholson was in that. Unlike Keaton, he was a popular choice for this role. And we'll talk about it before, but...
As Batman?
No, it's the Joker.
Oh.
He that is inspired casting.
Why, I'm sorry. Why did...
Maybe stop looking at Billy Crystal.
I'm not.
And listen.
No, I am listening, but I didn't catch what was wrong with Glover.
They just wanted a movie star.
Oh, was he wasn't...
No, he's not a movie star now.
Oh, well.
No, he's like a character actor.
Oh, well, he was in Smallville.
No, but that was later. But like I was saying, well, I'll get to this when we really talk about how we feel about the movie. Mm-hmm. But Nicholson is probably, it's just inspired casting. Like, it's just like it's like so obvious to cast him as the Joker.
Yeah.
Oh, you disagree?
No.
Oh.
No, I was just thinking like his other, because at that point, did The Cuckoo's Nest come out yet? Yeah.
That was like the mid-70s, The Shining.
The Shining, yeah. So I'm thinking, and yeah.
I'm just saying, like, he's great in the role. I think, and he's probably the best part of the movie. Like, spoiler, when we get to our favorite part, probably, like, because I think he does a pretty good, I think he's just really good at inhabiting that role. And he himself has said this is probably his favorite role he ever did.
Yeah, because, I don't know if it was, like, the delivery or, like, acting so much. Maybe it was just, like, the script. Because something I did notice was that there was, like, a lot of, like, one-liners. Not, like, in, like, quips, in, like, little, like, comebacks like that, but just, like, the dialogue was just like very short at times. And I don't know. I don't think there's really much to talk about in terms of Michael's performance. Like,
well, that's the thing. I think they don't really give him enough to do.
Yeah, so that kind of is like the only driving like force, I think.
He's the most animating thing.
Yeah, because like either as Bruce or as Batman, like he
kind of upstaged Michael Keaton. Like it's his movie.
Yeah,
it's supposedly Batman's movie, but really it's like the Joker show.
Yeah, well, you get the Joker origin story kind of with the two,
which I have mixed feelings about.
Well,
because in the comics, there have been versions that have given him an origin story, but the comics typically No, I think the Killing Joke, his origin story, he also falls into a thing of acid or something. But,
okay.
But I think the Joker works best when he's like that's what makes it interesting, is that you don't know like who he is. Like that's what makes it interesting. Is like you don't know. I think
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
I think we're talking about Jack Sparrow, where he's like a force of nature. Like that's what makes the character interesting. Like I don't need him to be like I don't need to know who he was before the Joker.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, something I think that this didn't entirely connect for me was like the transformation. Like Jack just seemed like kind of cold asshole, and then all of a sudden he's like the Joker.
Yeah.
But like, why did his personality completely change when he went into some chemicals? Like yeah. Like I don't know. Like I understand the like he's like fuck it, I've been dead or whatever, you know, like kind of like a looser like view on life now, I guess, like a looser but also more cynical, but like just like the maniacalness, like it didn't
maybe the chemicals made him maniacal.
I don't know, it just wasn't there for me, like, you know, as Jack Napier.
Yeah.
Which I also thought it was funny that his name is Jack. Is that his name in the comics?
I think when there have been versions that give him an origin story, his name is Jack, yeah.
Okay, because I just thought that was funny that Jack is playing Jack.
No confusion on set.
No confusion!
Nicholson had what was known as a, quote, off-the-clock agreement. His contract specified the number of hours he was entitled to have off each day from the time he left the set to the time he reported back for filming, as well as being off for the LA Lakers home games. Because Jack Nicholson is like a huge Lakers fan.
Interesting.
But he was such a big star, he's able to work that into his contract.
Wait, so sorry.
It stipulates like he can't work any more than like the contract stipulates. It's like, we're going to do it tomorrow, I'm leaving.
Oh. That's nice.
He reduced his standard $10 million fee to $6 million in exchange for a cut of the film's earnings, including associated merchandise. Oh. Which led to a remuneration in excess of $50 million, but some have reported it to be as much as $90 million. To one dude!
Oh, wow.
He also demanded top billing on promotional materials. In terms of the design, which I think is very much worth talking about.
Yes, very, very gothic style. Not like gothic, like 90s goth, but like gothic.
Yes, like the actual like visual aesthetic. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something I wrote in my notes. Is this is the first one we've watched where Gotham really feels like an actual.
It's Gotham.
It's Gotham City, as opposed.
What?
It's as opposed to just being like, it's Gotham City, but it's just Lexington Avenue. Like, you know what I mean? Like this feels like it's its own place.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely.
Burton had been impressed with the work of production designer Anton Furst and wanted to hire him for Beetlejuice, but Furst had already committed to a different film. A year later, Burton successfully hired him for Batman, and they enjoyed working with each other. Quote, "I don't think I've ever felt so naturally in tune with a director," Furst said. Quote, "Conceptually, spiritually, visually, or artistically. There was never any problem because we never fought over anything. Texture, attitude, and feelings are what Burton is a master at." So I think they really gelled, and I think again that's through all of his films. I think Burton's has always been really good at the like production, like the aesthetic.
Yes, he has. That's
like say what you will about the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. That's not lazy vision. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not. Yeah, I think in terms, I think over everything really is the aesthetic. that I would associate with Tim. Not so much like, oh, this is always how something, like something more technical, like with Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can tell this is directed, or like, oh, this was written by Tim. No, it's like always the look,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first, who's the production designer? And the art department deliberately mixed clashing architectural styles to, quote, make Gotham City the ugliest and bleakest metropolis imaginable.
Oh.
First continued, quote, we imagine what New York City might have become without a planning commission. A city run by crime with a riot of architectural styles, an essay in ugliness. As if hell erupted through pavement and kept on going.
Oh.
I think it does look very unpleasant to live. It's everything's steamy and like iron and like weird, and there's always like everything's under a bridge.
I think if it was cleaned up a bit, then it could be fine.
The Gotham City Beatification Committee.
Beatification. I'm gonna put beads all over the place.
Get your beads. Free beads.
No, but I would agree that whatever their attempt was, it did fall in line with the connected to its time. It felt very like 80s grimy, like in this, like New York City and like the 80s and like, I don't know, like all the graffiti and then just like the way people were dressed, like it just kind of seems like a snapshot of like the kind of not so desirable things from the 80s. I think also the same thing with like when Biff, like when like in Back to the Future when Biff becomes like in charge or whatever, he's like mayor, and it's like, all different and like casino-y and whatnot. It gives like similar vibes. It's not, it's a lot dirtier than that and like grimier, I guess. But yeah. So
well, I was gonna say is you would think of all the mainline Batman movies, this is the one to like least reflect the political climate of the time.
Yeah.
But then watching it, I was like, no, I think it expresses like an anxiety over American urban living. That's very characteristic of the Reagan era, the demonization of like poor people, people of color
definitely.
living in the cities.
This is definitely
because you start to see like the city start to turn around in the 90s and stuff in the 2000s, right?
Yeah,
so
this
it's
is like definitely the stuff that people.
It's very implicit. It's not obvious.
Yeah, this is the stuff that like conservatives would be like. Hey, see, this is why we need to do this. Or
like
whatever.
Someone in Montana probably watches this, like, look, this is like what New York City must be.
Yeah,
and it's like no, like. But to be fair, New York and these places were pretty dangerous in like the 80s and stuff.
Some parts, but it's not all bad.
No.
But and then also I would say the money thing was interesting too. Like
I was giving out the free money.
I know that's like a common thing, like throwing coins at the commoners or whatever. But like, or like a trope.
The desperation, I think, reflects like a trickle-down economics era of neoliberalism. And
it was especially in the 80s. It was terrible.
It feels like it feels very much like that at the time.
The gap between people was wide. Was extremely wide and widening in the 80s. So that's why in a lot of like John Hughes films you'll see like there's like the Richies and then there's like the people from the wrong side of the tracks or whatever. It's because
was it Pretty in Pink? Like her and her dad live in like that really small house.
Yeah, they live not in a trailer park, but it's like a really small place. And then also like
and Ferris Bueller lives like these families always live in like these huge houses.
No, yeah, that's another
because it exemplifies like the 80s corporate America kind of like
so it's
greed is good is literally something Ronald Reagan said, quoting the movie Wall Street. But in the movie Wall Street, we're meant to root against that guy. But then Ronald Reagan's like what was it? What's his name? Michael Shannon. Right? Michael Shannon, is that his name?
No, Michael Shannon is the guy from...
Not Michael Shannon. What's his name?
The guy from Kangaroo Jack.
What's his name? I forget. The guy who was in the Ant-Man movie.
The old guy?
Yeah.
Pym?
Yeah. I know who that is. I just can't... Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas. He says greed is good, but he's meant to kind of be like, we're supposed to like not like him. But then Ronald Reagan is like Michael Douglas said in the movie Wall Street, greed is good.
Taken out of context.
Yeah, it's like, but anyway, so I think it's like, if you were watching this in the 80s, you wouldn't pick up on this political thing, but I think because we're able to reflect back on the 80s, it's like, that's so obvious.
It's
that's
very
there.
80s. Yeah. Not in a dated kind of way, but like in a time capsule type of way.
Oh, well, the Joker dancing around in the museum to Prince music is very dated.
Oh, well, yes, that part, but I mean, like...
They thought they fucking ate that shit up when they were filming. They were like, yeah.
I didn't realize they were original songs.
They're original. There's like, he wrote 3 or 4 original songs for this movie. Like the credit song is like a slow like love ballad by Prince.
Yeah, when I think back and remember, like, before we watched it, like, I was like, oh yeah, he just dances to Prince, like, in the museum or whatever. But I didn't realize they were specifically written for this movie.
Oh yeah. So let's talk just very quickly about filming. I told you I have a lot of trivia. Yeah. That's the thing. Some of these I couldn't find any trivia. Some of these direct-to-video movies, I couldn't find any info about the production. So it's lopsided.
Too bad we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, or just that they're just so small, like 5 people bought the movie, so it's like no one cares to fill in the Wikipedia
also,
page.
Before you continue with that, I would just like to show you 2 comparison photos of Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Billy Crystal as Harry.
Ma'am, this is what you've been doing?
They look so similar. They both have the slim faces, and they have the big forehead, and they got the curly brown hair, and then they got
But their eyes are different. It's all in the eyes.
Well, yes, the eyes are different.
Michael Keaton has bigger cartoony eyes, and
Michael's got a different eyebrows. He's got more triangle-y eyebrows like Jack.
This is what the people want to hear.
It's true. They got
us bicker about the resemblance.
They got the laugh lines. They got the mouth. They got the chin.
Can I continue?
In the dark colors. Continue.
Okay. So, when it came down to filming, Sam Hamm was not allowed to perform rewrites during the 1988 Writers Guild of America strike. Very timely! Very relevant!
Oh, frick!
So what did they do? Warren Skaaren, who I mentioned was the other writer, who had also worked on Burton's Beetlejuice, did rewrites. You're a scab, Warren Skaaren! If you're listening to this, you're a scab!
Don't listen to this!
And you know what I do? I pick scabs. I pick them, and then I flick them. You're gonna get picked and flicked, Warren.
Do not flick your scabs.
Sorry.
Put them in the trash.
We support workers in this house. Keaton used his comedic experience. He used his comedic experience for scenes such as Bruce and Vicky's Wayne Manor dinner. I will say, like, he felt like very like he wasn't a bad. It's not a bad performance. It's just not a good. He's kind of miscast. I will say, as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I mean...
I wouldn't send 50,000 protest letters. I think that's a little extreme. But I think he's a little miscast. But I don't know if that's his fault, and more just like the writing doesn't really capture Bruce Wayne.
That would be so demoralizing. Like, coming up, first day on set, like, hey guys, what's up? You know?
Well, it worked out for him because the movie was a huge smash success.
Take that, 50,000 people.
He called himself a logic freak and was concerned that Batman's secret identity would in reality be fairly easy to uncover. Keaton discussed ideas with Burton. He's like, why would no one figure out that I'm Batman? Like, basically everything else.
That's what I've been saying.
So, Keaton discussed ideas with Burton to better disguise the character, including the use of contact lenses, which I don't think they ended up doing, like to change his eye color. Ultimately, Keaton decided to perform Batman's voice at a lower register than when he was portraying Bruce Wayne, which became a hallmark of the film version of the character, with Christian Bale later using the same technique.
Yes, which I did appreciate, though. That...
I don't think Adam West really did like a different, like he would say things differently, but he wasn't like talking in a dark voice, you know.
But I think some people, I don't remember who. Maybe it was Ben Affleck, or maybe it was Christian Bale. I don't know. I remember someone doing it like ridiculous.
Christian Bale is by the time you get to the third one, he's like, "Where's the trigger? You will never give it to her."
Like, it's just ridiculous. Whereas like this was like, I could tell it was like a little lower, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It just seemed a bit more functional.
Yeah. What's funny because in Batman Begins, he only does
like
the
growling
voice.
At that point.
In Batman Begins, he does a different voice, but it's not deeper. He's just like, he kind of talks like under his breath. But there's one scene where he's like, where were the other drugs? But then he does that voice for like the entirety of The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, Because that one scene, it just seemed like he was doing it scarier for that one scene to be scary.
Yeah, yeah.
But then he's like, I'm just going to do that when he's talking to, like, his friends. He's like, if I get him to you, will you get him to talk? Like, anyway.
Yeah, it's like, he's like growling at that point.
Yeah.
I'm Batman. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you're gonna hurt your voice.
In terms of the music, Burton hired Danny Elfman.
Yes, Danny!
Who he had worked with. He was his collaborator on Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice. Danny Elfman was part of the rock band Oingo Boingo.
I'm sorry, what?
He brought him on to compose the music score. For inspiration, Elfman was given The Dark Knight Returns, which is the comic book.
That's so cool. He just read a comic book and he was like, I know how this music should go.
Yeah.
Shit, that's so cool.
But didn't we say Hans Zimmer was like for Pirates of the Caribbean? He's like, I just imagine them on motorcycles. In my head, this is a movie about motorcycle gangs.
But I mean, yeah, soon to be long-term partners. Honestly,
yeah, because basically they work together almost on not every single thing, but almost everything.
Pretty much everything. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Elfman was worried as he had never worked on a production this large in budget and scale. In addition, producer John Pierce was skeptical of hiring Elfman, but was later convinced when he heard the opening number. One of the best, I think, themes of a movie ever. That opening theme. Mm-hmm. To the point where I think they reused it or kind of used it as the basis for the animated show's theme. Mm-hmm. It's the start menu screen for Lego Batman. That's where I know it from. Okay. We should watch. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please, if we create a Patreon, please sign up, and we'll cover non-movie things in these franchises, and me and Viviana will do a Twitch stream, we'll play Lego Batman.
Oh my god. Well, basically, Peter will play Lego Batman,
and he's just gonna watch
through me. He's my conduit because I don't play games.
She's a good backseat game.
They make me very angry, and also I'm not good at the controllers. So Peter plays, but I'm the one with the brains.
She's the
academically he's smart, but not like in problem solving and game smart. So that's my expertise.
We're gonna date this episode right now. As you all know, we record these months in advance. But yes, just yesterday, the Legend of Zelda. Well,
hold on.
Sorry, it's like a Mexican Fiesta truck just drove by. Like, I love Jackson Heights. Okay, just yesterday, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom came out. Woo-hoo! So I was playing it. I played for like 8 hours straight, and it was amazing. But the thing is, Viviana's interesting when she backseat games because she'll suggest things that like you just can't do. Like you can only do certain things in the game. Like the programmers have programmed certain things you can do. But Tears of the Kingdom, you can kind of do anything you can think of. So she'll suggest something. I'll be like, no, you're not gonna be able to do that. And I'm like, oh, you can do that.
Exactly.
So this game's kind of perfect for Viviana to backseat game.
This is my kind of game.
In terms of the marketing, which is really important for this movie. I told you there was a lot of stuff. During production, Peters read in the Wall Street Journal that comic book fans were unsatisfied with the casting of Michael Keaton, as we said. In response, Peters rushed the first film trailer that played in thousands of theaters during Christmas. It was simply an assemblage of scenes without music, but it created enormous anticipation for the film, with audiences clapping and cheering.
What?
So it did a lot to give the film some goodwill and a little bit more faith from the fans.
It's weird. It was just like a silent film reel though.
No, wait, there was dialogue. There was no music. Like there was maybe scenes,
I know.
like
it
dialogue.
wasn't like a formal trailer.
They just rushed it out just to kind of like be like, if people could see what we were working on, they wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
In the months before Batman's release in June of '89, a popular cultural phenomenon known as Batmania began.
Of course.
Over $750 million worth of merchandising was sold. Cult filmmaker and comic book writer Kevin Smith remembered, quote, that summer was huge. You couldn't turn around without seeing the bat signal somewhere. People were cutting it into their fucking heads. Like, I think, like, shaving it. It was just the summer of Batman. If you were a comic book fan, it was pretty hot.
So, wait.
Burton admitted he was annoyed by the publicity.
Well, of course. He's a very, like, not conservative. He's not a very public person.
Tim Burton, yeah, he's kind of an introvert.
But wait, that's really so before
leading up to the movie.
So this didn't. Oh, in anticipation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also following.
Because I would think
but that could be a good way to get
come first, and then Batmania would happen.
No, I think merchandising can be a tool depending on the property. Because again, Batman, people knew what Batman was.
No,
You could buy into it and get kids to buy the shit, and then they're like, well, I want to go see the movie. I've been playing with the toy for 3 months. I want to go see the movie.
No, of course. I just mean, I guess, like, with the different expectations, with the different...
Depends on the brand.
You know.
You know what I mean?
Because if they're like, oh my gosh, like, what's his name? Adam West, like, so exciting, you know, Michael Keaton's the new Adam West, blah, blah, blah. You know, then there's that group, but then there's also the, whoa, I saw this trailer, it looks super dark, like, I'm so, you know, I'm excited to see the movie, but maybe not would want, like, merchandise yet. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, I guess it's also for kids, like, they're not necessarily thinking that, like...
Well, I know a lot of adults with toys. So.
No, I know, but this is, like, when that's, like, the 70s, 80s is when that starts, but to give you some context, again, merchandising is hugely important. At least it was. It's not so much anymore. But let me give you an anecdotal example related to Star Wars. So when George Lucas was getting ready to make the prequels, right? Yeah. So all of those films were self-financed, right? That's how he was able to retain like complete creative control. Oh, wow. 20th Century Fox would distribute them, but they weren't flipping the bill.
Why is he eating alone in mall food courts?
Because he's just a normal dude.
If he has so much money to finance 3 different films.
Well, he would basically take the money he made from the last one and put it into the next one, basically, and make loot. But anyway, so one of the ways, you know, he still had a lot of money, but what he did was because Star Wars, the original trilogy back in the 70s and 80s, what made George Lucas uber wealthy was because when he did his contract with 20th Century Fox, wherever, like they did flip some of the bill,
the merchandise,
but he basically put into his contract because that wasn't really a big deal back then. Yeah. So he was able to get the rights. So when that exploded, and everyone wanted these toys, it's off of that he became a gazillionaire, right? So so everyone knew that okay, they're making new Star Wars movies in the night. Oh my god, I want in on that merchandising. He sold the merchandising rights for that film, Phantom Menace Episode 1, to Hasbro. Up front, before the movie even came out, they made the toys.
Oh, yes.
You keep thinking of plush toys. I'm talking about like action figures.
No, I know. I was thinking board games. I was like, why not?
Hasbro makes board games.
I know. Never mind.
Anyway, he sold the
bears.
He sold the rights to it before he had even written the script.
Oh wow.
They didn't know what the movie would be about. They didn't know if it was good. And off of that money, he made the movie. So that basically constituted the budget of the movie. Him licensing the rights to the merchandise.
Calm down. You're spitting on yourself.
No, I'm not.
You had a piece of spit on your lip.
Well, I'm trying to tell you something.
You're so excited about it.
Speaking of money, despite the film's box office, over $400 million against a budget of no more than $48 million, Warner Brothers claimed it ended up losing about $35 million, and, quote, was not likely to ever show a profit, which has been attributed to a case of Hollywood accounting. And what Hollywood accounting is when studios will inflate the costs so they don't owe people any money. Because if you have a deal, like, you get X percent of the profits, and they'll be like, oh, sorry, we didn't make any profit, we had all these extra costs, but it's, like, kind of deceptive account, like, they basically find things to...
So, like, they charge them more for the lot?
No, just on their books. They're just lying. They're adding costs that aren't there. That weren't real costs.
Oh, not even inflated ones.
No, I'm saying profit is revenue minus cost.
No, I know. I'm saying. So
if the cost is more than the revenue, then they don't owe anyone a cut of the profit.
No, I understand. I'm asking if it's like a movie would rent a lot space or a sound stage for $500, but instead of charging them $500, they would charge them $700 or $800.
I think there's different ways to do it.
And then use, basically keep that difference.
I don't know if there's one way to do it. I think
there's
different
ways.
You can lie. You can just make up things that didn't exist. You can claim things as costs for that film, but really they were costs for something else. Just something for the Warner Brothers lot. Like, we're going to charge it to the Batman movie. You know what I mean? Like, you can just get very creative with it. Very creative accounting.
This is why you always ask for the bills.
Exactly.
People.
So with all of that, what do we think of the movie? I mean, we've already kind of talked a little bit about it, but I think right from the beginning I noticed, like, from just the titles, sequence with the music and like the dark visuals, like it's very dramatic right from the jump. Like it feels very much like separate from the Adam West stuff.
Yes.
You know, it really like takes those first 2 minutes to make you very aware that it's not, you're not gonna get a na kerplop.
No,
Sam.
The first, I mean, even the first shot, you know, just like the kind of off kilter shot of.
It's like the bat symbol, right? Or.
Oh, I thought it was the off kilter shot of the building. No.
Oh, maybe it was. I thought the opening title sequence behind the text is just like moving angles of like a bat shape.
Okay, well after that, bat
Oh yeah.
Like instantly, Tim, you know. So it's like nothing. It's nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is I also find very interesting that it's completely different. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it not only has it taken over.
It's pretty innovative
decades.
in terms of Batman.
Yeah,
like
but
it's really cool to look at it in hindsight, or not look at it in hindsight, like remove hindsight, and be like nothing had been, because again, superhero movies were barely a thing. So he's really kind of like creating something wholly new.
Yeah, which
you
like,
know?
I understand this is more along the lines of the comics, but like in terms of film and like media representation, I feel like this is just like a complete rewrite. So it does seem,
Completely upends our expectations of what Batman is supposed to be.
Changes it
if you don't
very
read comics.
drastically. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, if you read comics, you've already kind of gotten this
Yeah, you
idea,
kinda
but most
know,
people seeing this movie were just casual people just like the character. They're not comic book readers.
Just casual people it was you know a very big shocking change.
Yeah.
You know?
But this is very influential, again, in terms of blockbuster, because it's very, like, VFX heavy. Again, a lot of use of miniatures or matte paintings, right? Because there's no CGI.
Oh, really?
Remember at one point there was a... Huh?
What was a miniature?
I'm imagining some buildings were miniatures.
Maybe buildings.
I think there was a shot that was, like, a complete eagle eye view. And it was cool. They had, like, a little animation for Batman's shadow. Because, like, you couldn't do it any other way.
So weird, yeah.
Right? Because it was like, we have this miniature, but how do we simulate a shadow? So they like it looks like someone like hand drew, not onto the physical, but like did like animation compositing, like it was like a 2D animation, right?
I thought that was kind of weird because it felt like it did a mix, but
like when the Batmobile gets like the armor, like
yes.
it's like stop motion, right? Because it's like but you know what I mean? Like that's how you are able to get away with doing stuff like that in 1989. Because the VFX just aren't there to do that with computers yet.
That's true. I didn't even think about the technology.
Because there had definitely been, like, computer graphics had started to be introduced by this point, but just, like, very, very little.
No, I mean, we see Batman's TVs.
Yeah.
Like...
Because if we talked about this, but the same year, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade comes out.
Yes.
And we talked about one of the first composite shots done completely in a computer with the guy aging rapidly at the end.
Yes.
But, you know, only a few years later do you get, like, Terminator 2, you get Jurassic Park, so it's on the horizon.
I thought those were practical.
They are, but they have some key moments of some very influential and innovative CGI work. Mm-hmm. Like Jurassic Park, as much as they can, there'll be a physical T-Rex, but sometimes there are certain shots where they want him to be running. Are CGI. But what makes that good is that they do a lot, like, from shot to shot, they alternate. So, like, it tricks your eye, like, it helps you kind of just, like, buy into this.
Yeah. I don't know what I was watching or why I was watching it, but I saw some behind-the-scenes thing from Jurassic Park, and they were talking about how having, like, a puppet or whatever.
A lot of it was real, yeah.
Having that is much better in terms of lighting and stuff. And
it,
like...
Especially back then, because they hadn't developed the technology.
Looks better, I guess, you know, so... Because
something in CGI...
I don't think CGI when I think of that movie.
Yeah, no...
The new ones, of course, everything's fucking...
Well, that's the thing, right? Literally, the locations is everything. The only thing that's real are the actors, maybe.
Maybe.
But...
just added...
Well, if you look at some of the Marvel movies, if it's like, the first Iron Man, he's wearing... For a lot of the shots, he's wearing a physical suit. Now he just wears a black outfit, and they CGI the suit over him.
But why? They already have the outfit.
That's what I'm saying, because it's just cheaper and easier and faster. It's just... because... anyway, just pulling it back to this, I think because of the era it's in, it feels very tactile. That's something I've always liked about Tim Burton's, especially his earlier work.
Yes.
Like, the cinematography I always think is, like, I don't just mean cinematography in terms of, like, the framing, but just, like, the way that DP is able to manipulate celluloid and capture that light information. You know what I mean? Like everything feels very textured and fresh, and again, it doesn't feel like and it doesn't feel like New York or LA. It feels like this is a new place. This is a fictional place that, but is at the same time feels real. Yeah, right.
I would say that the same type of thing with like Edward Scissorhands. He has like a good,
especially back then, like the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, Tim has like a good grasp not only on like aesthetic but also like things and like how to make just like normal things like seem interesting or cool behind the camera.
Yeah,
it's like it like gives the film texture.
There is something timeless. You were asking me like, when is this supposed to take place? They intentionally designed both the architecture as well as the outfits to be kind of semi-timeless, like kind of like a pseudo 40s, but obviously they have the technology of the 80s, like just kind of like it's meant to kind of exist outside of time is like the ideal, because they have like the TV, the CRT monitor. They have the 80s technology. It's not a period piece by any means.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I guess they tried to do that, but to me it just kind of seemed like when he was a boy, it was kind of 40s, and then now
that's like the idea. Is like again, I think they're just pulling from that because I think that fits with like the noir-ish kind of darker. I don't think it's meant to be like this scene's taking place in 1944 and this scene taking place in this.
But I think having that kind of noir.
I know you said noir. But I usually say it with a W, but you said it almost like new R. Like the letter R, it's the new R.
New R. That's how I say it. So like kind of like the noir aesthetic, and like, you know, when you think of that, you think of like kind of hiding in the shadows, but also very like sharp like lines, or like I don't know, sharp.
Very German. Tim Burton has always leaned into German expressionism. Like if you look at like stuff from.
That's not what I was saying.
No, but that's what you're referring to without knowing it. That's
in noir stuff, like the very.
In noir was semi influenced by German expressionism.
Okay, yeah. So
the idea of like this very sharp,
boxy, sharp,
very sharp. German expressionism is like movies like Nosferatu, Sunrise, Metropolis, where it's like. Very, again, the expressionism, the idea that it's like everything's kind of heightened, right? So especially if you look at like Edward Scissorhand, think about some of the climax of Beetlejuice, like when the house starts transforming. Yeah, that's German expression. That's like pulled straight out of like Sunrise or Nosferatu. Like in German expressionism, they would paint the shadows on the ground. Like if there was a table, they would like paint with black chalk on the ground the shadow of the table, like. If you just Google German expressionism film, I'm saying Tim Burton is drawing from that in all of his films, especially these earlier ones.
But I think that also kind of correlates with what we were talking about in terms of like the Reaganite era, because the sharpness is more suit-like. It's more
interesting.
Like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's more polished in comparison to like the rest of Gotham City. But I think even now in the later ones, they don't maybe do it as obviously, but that is kind of the opposing factor of Batman's character, in order to show that he's not like a regular petty crime person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Like he's not.
I'll let the listeners decide if that makes sense.
He doesn't seem casual and normal because like
the city's not casual and normal.
Sure.
He's a product of Gotham City.
But like the rich end. It's like sharp, polished, put together, whereas like everything else seems like kind of messy and like abstract, but you know, I think that's something that even if it wasn't expressed so blatantly in these forms, in the mise en scène and everything, then it would still be like a through line minor theme, I think, in order to,
Yeah.
like, this guy is not just, like, your regular Joe Schmo just dressing up, you know, like a bank robber, you know, they would wear, like, the ski masks or whatever. So it's not, like, that kind of guy. It's, like, he's doing stuff for the good of the people kind of guy, you know? So it's, like, making that distinction.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get Batman's first reveal.
You don't get that, dude.
You kind of lost me a little bit.
What?
It's I understand what you're saying, and that's making me not understand. In that, like, I understand, but what you're saying is very simple. So I'm like, is there more to what you're trying to say? Yes, he's not like other, like, the theatricality is the point. He's supposed to instill fear. Like, what's the first, so his reveal scene, this is a good segue.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm not gonna kill you, I want you to tell your friends about me. Like, the whole point is the theatricality. The whole point is that he's not just, like, dressing up, like, in a ski mask. Like, he's, like,
No, I know.
dressing up as a bat, right? It's like, some people don't even know if he's human, right? Like,
No, I know.
but it's really interesting to see, again, compared to Adam West, like, Batman's finally scary, right? Like, at least that's the idea. Like,
Yeah.
they use shadows effect. Like, his introduction scene, it's like, Burton directs it like it's a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like, what was that? And there's, like, something in the shadows, right? Like, you know what I mean? And again, I think this is where Burton gets to shine, is, like, when he can really lean into, like, the macabre or, like, unsettling elements of this character, and what he can mean.
Is he okay?
Tim Burton?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Sorry.
Because because, you know Tim, right? But then also, apparently he grew up with his grandparents and, like, his house was across the street from, like, a graveyard.
Oh, no!
So, like, is he okay?
Probably. Have you watched his movies? No!
Love the art, but you okay, Tim?
Yeah, how are you doing? But yeah, like I said, like we said before, the costume improvement, each is getting better in terms of the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Though there is something lost in his lack of mobility, right? Like, there's only so much. Like, the Adam West action scenes were more dynamic. Like, he's jumping around. He's like, you know what I mean? So
Yes,
there is something kind of
silly.
lost, and they really have to lean into, like, the all the film parts, like the editing, the shots, to make it feel more like exhilarating, because he's not really doing much. He's pretty, like, stiff is the word I'm looking for. But something else we haven't talked about in terms of casting, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, which, interesting to make him black, which I don't think was in the comics at all ever. So very cool.
It's the 80s now, so you can.
Though it's funny, though, because Harvey Dent, as we know, later becomes Two-Face.
I was gonna ask.
And that's why they cast him. Because Burton was like, he's a great actor, and it would be so cool to have him as Two-Face. But then when they finally get to Two-Face in these movies, they've recasted everybody, and it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones is Two-Face.
In Batman Forever, I believe. But at that point, they've, like, Michael Keaton isn't Batman anymore. It's like, it's debatable if it's even the same continuity.
Wait, okay, because I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I was gonna ask.
He doesn't really get much to do, is my point.
No, I
like,
know. But I was gonna ask, and then I was like, oh no, it's probably gonna be annoying. But, like, okay, so who's on top? Is that Gordon or Dent?
Dent is not a police officer. Dent is the district attorney.
I know. Okay.
So I mean, who's on top?
Okay, so I guess
The top of what?
They said one is a commissioner and one is
Gordon,
a captain.
No, Gordon is the police commissioner.
Yeah.
Harvey Dent is a DA.
Okay.
He's not a police officer in any capacity.
Well, then they must have been talking about something else. I don't know. Because I was like, oh, Harvey Dent, that sounds so familiar. But I thought that was Two-Face. But then I was like, well, I guess not, because, like, you know, he wasn't. But, okay, yes. But I don't know Tommy as him. I know the other guy. What's the other guy?
Well, in The Dark Knight, he plays a pivotal role in The Dark Knight.
I know. Who is that guy?
Aaron Eckhart, I think is the actor's name. You would know him if you saw him. He was pretty in a lot of stuff at that time, but he kind of hasn't really been in a lot since.
The guy... Oh, wait, no, that's Sean Bean.
It's okay. You don't need to. It's not really important right now. So that's okay.
Well, that's who I think of.
Yeah.
Anywho,
I think that's what everyone thinks of. He's like the definitive on-screen version of the character.
Okay, that's great to know, because I thought I was a little... I thought I was confused, but I wasn't confused because I remembered that name.
I feel you're like Dorothy and I'm like Glinda the Good Witch. You had the power to not be confused all along. But again, yeah, I think Tim Burton really brings like some creative visuals to the film. Again, like I said, like it's kind of a cop-out, like the way they have to make the fight scenes more engaging. But I will say, if someone has to do it, Burton's a good choice to try to do this and like try to make things feel like
oh yes,
really dynamic.
Aaron Eckhart, he looks like Sean Bean.
Why are we on Aaron Eckhart?
Because he looks like Sean Bean.
Wait, this episode's been 90 minutes and we're only in the first 5 minutes of the movie. No, I don't have a lot of notes. Like I said, I've been trying just to write like observations and not like the plot. But
because when you said that, I was thinking of Sean Bean in National Treasure, and then I was like, wait, that's Sean Bean. But apparently they look the same, just like Billy Crystal and Michael Keaton. It's a thing with white guys, I guess. I don't know.
Can I continue?
Yeah.
We already talked about this a little bit,
honey.
but I'm one of the good ones. Hashtag not all white men. We talked about this before. Again, I'm not sure how I feel about them defining Joker's origin so like bluntly. Like if you allude to it, kinda. Like here's the thing: is like I think in that Killing Joke, right, that comic book that does go into it, I think it's like a flashback. Like whereas this, it's like an integral part of the story, and Batman is involved. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
he makes them. Well, there's that whole thing
and not only that. Right, when you have the Joker like Heath Ledger's, where you have no idea like who he is, like what's his goal, it helps with the fact he doesn't really have like a clear motivation other than just like I'm just here to cause mischief. Like I just want to see the world burn. Like that's the whole thematic thrust of The Dark Knight is like Bruce is trying to struggle, like he's struggling with like trying to figure out how he can take the Joker down, and Alfred relates this story about a guy, like he was like I was in Burma. And I was,
Why was Alfred in Burma?
Because some versions of him, he's like an agent, like a secret agent or something, right? Or like in the military. But anyway, he's talking about like these robbers who stole all these jewels, and then like he found the jewels just like on the side of the road. And like the whole point was like they just did it like because it was fun, and like, and he says the classic line, "Some men just want to watch the world burn." Right? So by not giving him an origin and just leaning into this idea of force of nature, it helps. Not only are you able to get away with your villain not having a motivation, that's part of the point. But by giving him so much backstory, or at least like we understand who he is,
a lot of Joker.
It makes his lack of motivation it doesn't work. Yeah. Like, what's his motivation? Like, because I already have a sense of him being an actual human, and now you've turned into the Joker, and it's like, why is he doing what he's doing?
See, that was the interesting... We'll talk about this later. You've drinking all my water.
Yeah, I've been drinking her water the whole...
But that was the interesting thing about Joker was because he was just a dude, right? And so you kind of feel there's like that tear because you feel like compassionate because like you've seen him before all this stuff, but now he's just like gone apeshit crazy and like killing Robert De Niro on TV. But yeah, so two things about that. I think if we're going to do a Joker origin story, I like this one where he's an adult, as opposed to like as he's younger and like it's kind of been like a lifelong thing. And then
like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, you mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
whereas like he's an adult, but the idea is that he's always been crazy. Yeah. Whereas in this, it's the acid that makes him crazy. Like he was a little unhinged before, but this just sends him over the edge.
It just seems like something strange that like a child was always destined to be like a maniacal like
serial killer.
Yeah, bad guy. But also something that I have noticed is that a lot of like, I'm sure it might be the same for Marvel, but I mean, don't hate me, DC fans, but it just seems like a lot of DC characters, and specifically in at least the ones that I know within the Batman universe, are like kind of the same. They're just like copies of each other.
No, but it's Batman and Spider-Man. They have the best villains.
No, but what I'm saying is that specifically is Joker and Riddler, they seem the same.
That's what I said about the last movie.
Except Joker is chaos and Riddler is more
like intricate.
Yeah, intricate. Not tactile. What am I thinking?
Technical. Like it's very like
It's very calculated.
Yes.
Very calculated, and it's always purpose driven. Whereas like Joker is more exactly like maniacal and like
when you're dealing with the
chaos
Joker or the Riddler, you're confused in both situations. The difference being is that the Riddler has an answer. The Joker, there is no answer.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying about you were talking about how like he was confused on how to stop the Joker, but it's like you can't really because
unless you kill him. But that's his whole thing is in at least the Christopher Nolan ones where it's like he doesn't kill. That's like the whole point. Whereas in this one he's just like, I'm gonna kill you, and his Batmobile has machine guns on it.
Okay. Well, I guess so, or even just like apprehending, like keep him in like a maximum security, like one of those silly maximum security prisons from like Kung Fu Panda. You remember when he was like
the classic cinematic example of maximum security prison, Kung U Panda. Yeah.
Or in X-Men where it's just like them on like a little platform in the middle of nothing.
Yeah.
Then there's no telling what he'll do next or why. And I don't think he'll even know why all the time, So that I think that's what makes him, a real threat as opposed to just like, a gangster or some petty thief or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
At least in terms of Batman, it's like always like where could he be, right?
Yeah.
Where the Riddler is telling you where he is.
You just have to figure it out.
It's just you have to figure it out. Yeah.
But something about this movie that is a little hit or miss for me is like the stylized dialogue. And like I feel like sometimes it's doing things that the Adam West show would do, but like without any sense of irony or like self-awareness.
What do you mean?
Like I don't know, it just feels like everything.
Short?
No, everything's just like played to the back row, like the writing and like the performances. Like everything feels like they're chewing the scenery, kind of like. Do you know what I mean? But I'm using lots of metaphors for when people talk about overacting, but
yeah.
Like
I know,
but sometimes it's hit or miss. Like I love a good.
I don't know what you're talking about in terms of this movie, but I know in terms of theater, like
which is similar, like the idea of playing to the back row, like you're being really exaggerated because people at the back row. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. It just feels like. Well, I'll talk about this. I hate Knox.
The reporter guy.
He exemplifies everything I hate about this movie. Like
it's such a small part of the movie.
But every single scene, I remember not liking him as a kid either. Like, and it's not like, oh, I don't like him because he's not meant to be a good guy. Like, no, he's just like grating. Like, he's just really grating. He like the way they write him and the way he performs it, like he's like meant to be like kind of sardonic and clever and kind of sarcastic. Mm-hmm. It's just so annoying. And I don't like him in The Bodyguard either, because he plays the Oscar host. But I like that performance in that movie, because I thought the whole point of that is like an insufferable Oscars host. So it works.
I think that's just like his thing.
I don't know. I just really do not like
he was in Good Morning Vietnam. He was in Good Burger.
I just don't like his... Like, every time he was on screen, I was just like, oh... Like he was playing a generic like wisecracking reporter who's like, will do anything for a scoop. Like it's just, I don't know, just something about it just really annoys me. Everything about his performance and his writing and everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like that's how he is, like as a person. I don't know if that's him as a person, but that's how he acts.
Well,
like.
Well, how was he last time you guys had lunch?
No, I just mean like in terms of acting. You know how like Kristen Stewart plays like the same character.
Yes,
over
I know
and over
too.
Again?
Yeah,
like I feel like that's like he's just like a dopey, obnoxious character every time he acts.
Dopey. That's the word. It's like you're acting like he's acting dopey.
But I've only seen him in like 3 things. So
yeah. Well, speaking of casting, so let's talk a little bit more about Michael Keaton, right? And I think with us doing this franchise, we gotta look at the casting of Batman. Because this is the first franchise I think we're doing where there's like
no
X-Men. Well, X-Men, they did do some recasting, but it was all meant to just be like younger versions of them.
Yeah.
Whereas this is the first franchise we're doing where it's like constantly being like rebooted. Like it's new versions of characters that we've already seen. So I think that's something we should look at while doing this, is like comparing the different Batman, right? So, or at the very least with this, how is Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and how is he as Batman? Because they're really 2 different characters, right? Again, I think he's partially miscast as Bruce Wayne. He's definitely charming. I just don't know if he's Bruce Wayne. I just don't.
I think sometimes kind of seemed like the same person.
That's the thing, and we talked about with the serials, and I talked about for other versions, is that the idea is that Bruce Wayne is the mask. Mm-hmm. That he plays a character. So people don't suspect him as Bruce. Batman is who he really is, right?
But I don't know about that, though, because Batman was an after fact.
No, but I mean, like, Batman exemplifies who he really is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas Bruce Wayne is not, like, he's not a womanizing,
no.
apathetic, not, like, remember, he's like, oh, I just don't want to do anything today.
Well, I don't know why he would make that his persona, but whatever.
You know, at least even in the Christian Bale ones, he's just meant to be, like, a millionaire playboy. You know what I mean? Like, kind of staying out late, and that's why he's, he was out late at parties, not, solving crime. That's why he's sleeping in. Yeah. He's not recovering from multiple knife wounds and stuff.
Which is so random, because you would think as a high-profile billionaire, people would want to know what the fuck you're doing and how you're making money. How he still makes money, I don't know.
Well, when rich people are rich, they're rich. Unless you're really bad at investing, you just invest in ETF funds and
making armored playwear rich.
Well, in the Christian Bale ones, he is the president of Wayne Enterprises.
No, yeah,
it's like
that
a technology,
makes
like
sense.
a GM kind of company.
That makes sense, but I think for a lot of
General
other
Electric,
ones,
excuse me. Yeah.
But for a lot of other ones, he just is Bruce Wayne. But it's like his parents are dead. What is he doing? Like, how big is his trust fund? You know?
But I think you're right. I think you bring up a good point that there's not much delineation between him and Batman. Like, he kind of just plays the same person. Again, he's very I like Michael Keaton. This isn't me to try to shit on Michael Keaton. He's very charming in this movie. I just don't know if he. But again, I think that's more of a fault of the writing. I just don't know if this is really what I would want from Bruce Wayne as a character. Yeah, right?
I mean, I don't know. I can't remember if it happened all throughout the movie, but I know definitely towards the end, I noticed that every line was just a sentence. It was just so short, and so it seemed, I don't know, very, very technical for its own sense, and not
They didn't give him much to do either. That's the thing.
Yeah, and what you were saying about him, I thought he was, kind of personable, but he also kind of just a boring dude from the 80s. I don't know.
But back then, that was really interesting. But now he's lame.
He just seemed like a dad. I don't know.
Very fashionable. Though. I really liked his
Steve Jobs outfit.
Yeah, I've never seen jeans so blue. And then the black tucked in turtleneck, or not tucked, but
his little glasses.
He had the little round clear glasses. Yeah.
Anywho, but especially when, first of all, not sure why he even brings her there, but when he brings Vicky to sorry, cut that out. When he brings Vicky to the Batcave and she's looking at his face more intensely.
When he brings her, when he is Batman or when he's Bruce Wayne?
When he is Batman and he is driving her to the Batcave, and he kind of shies away. It seems like a Bruce type of thing. That doesn't really seem like a Batman type of thing. So it's she's kind of uncovering it, but then he's also kind of giving it away. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
How do we feel about how intertwined Batman's origin and Joker's origin are? Because they make a whole point. So basically,
so
Batman is kind of the reason the Joker exists, right? Because Batman's trying to save him from falling to the vat of acid.
He didn't try very hard, but yeah.
But then it's revealed that a young Jack Napier is the murderer of his parents, which is obviously a huge change from the comics.
Yes.
In the comics, it's a character named Joe Chill.
Oh, really?
There's the character.
Oh, I thought it was random.
I'm sure the very first Batman issue #1, it was just a random. But since they build out the mythology,
really?
it's meant to be a criminal named Joe Chill who's just a dude. Who's just mugging them and.
Oh, I thought that was the whole thing. Was that they never know who it is? It's just some petty thieves at the wrong time.
No. I mean, in the Christian Bale one, a whole plot point is the trial. But it's only a scene. But Batman goes for his parole hearing. Well, not Batman, but Bruce Wayne. This is before he's Batman.
Sure.
And he goes with a gun, he's going to kill Joe Chill.
Oh.
But then someone else does it because the whole point is that Joe Chill is getting released from prison early because he's helping, because he shared a cell with, like, the mob boss. And he's willing to go on the record and testify against him. So before Bruce can kill him,
the mob guy.
A mob hit guy kills Joe Chill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have not, apparently I have not seen those in years because I do not remember
We watched
that.
it together like 2 years ago.
I don't remember that at all.
You loved that movie, I thought.
Well, I'm going to love it again.
You're going to love it again!
Because I did not remember that.
That's not really important, but I don't care that it's not Joe Chill. I'm not one of those people like, it's not Joe Chill. But
I guess it wasn't even made at this point, right?
I think Joe Chill might have been in the comics at that point.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that I don't know how I feel about it's like very convenient. Like, oh, the Joker killed his parents?
That just seemed very Shakespearean, like how intertwined they
It's
were.
like, it feels like a soap opera, right?
Yeah.
And it reminds me of people's complaints of the Star Wars prequels where George Lucas like wasn't very creative and like everything had to have like this perfect connection. So it's like C-3PO couldn't just be a droid. He had to have been built by Darth Vader as a boy. He can't just be a droid.
That's right.
That just happens to be a droid somewhere, right? So it's like too convenient. It's like that's very big coincidence.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh, it's like when teams have children and all their children are on the teams, but it's like why
or like two families are enemies and then they're like it's like two people are enemies and then both of their kids become enemies of each other. It's like
why would you assume that just because you were on this superhero team that your kid would also want to be on the superhero team and also work with these random kids that
I want to see.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to see.
I don't know.
I want to see a superhero movie when they have a kid and instead of wanting to join the team, they want to be a super villain. That's kind of been explored in the in Star Wars, right? Where it's like Han and Leia's kid, both in the old canon and the new one, their son becomes like Sith, like a dark side.
Ben,
yeah.
I wonder why that is. Were they bad parents?
I don't know.
Is they smacking them around?
I don't know. I think they wanted to just explore that, but Luke didn't have any kids, so.
No. I mean with Ben.
I don't know. And you know what? I think his name was Ben Solo in the old canon, but he was a completely different character. Like Kylo Ren wasn't a thing; it was just Ben Solo, and like they had like 2 or 3 kids, and it was like a whole thing.
Oh, why
there's a whole expanded universe that Disney just went just like erased. Basically.
Well, maybe now they'll get into it. They're always looking to expand shit.
Why are Bruce and Vicky attracted to one another? Like she's hot and he's rich, but they have zero chemistry. Character-wise, writing-wise, acting-wise, like they do not. That is such a forced romantic relationship.
Why
I've ever
did that
seen one.
even happen? Because
I buy Elizabeth Swann and Jack Sparrow more than I buy this relationship.
Because when they first met, she was literally like her and Knox were shitting on him for being so rich and like pompous and like having all this like ancient shit.
Yeah.
But like
because they're looking at stuff and they're like, I wonder where this is from. He's like, I think it's from Japan. It's like, how would you know? He's like, because I bought it in Japan.
Yeah. So it's like, so now you ask her to dinner, like, or no, she asked him. I don't know. They went on a date somehow. And it's like that turned you on, like that caught your attention. Her being an asshole, like
yeah. And then on the first date. Isn't there like a rule? I'm not trying to slut shame, but isn't there like an unspoken rule, like not on the first date, or is that not a thing?
Oh, that they slept together.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the rule, but I guess like the general rule.
I guess it's not really a thing anymore.
But like, I guess people do one night stands. So
I don't know. I've never had a one night stand. I know all of you think I'm a, all our listeners here think I'm some kind of Casanova.
We have 2 nightstands, one on each side of the bed.
all right. But I think seeing this forced romance really raise the question: does Batman really need a love interest? Like,
well, no. But I mean, I guess you could say if you bring Robin into it, it could be like his mom or something.
That could be his. Why can't they just have a romantic relationship?
I don't know.
Just a man and his boy.
Why does he get a ward? That makes no sense. Why does he just randomly adopt a child? Because he's lonely? Because his parents died?
He's like, yo, my parents died too.
Isn't that why he does philanthropic work?
But we already talked about, but yeah, Jack Nicholson, I think, is just perfect casting for this role.
He's evil. That's what I've been
he's
trying
scary.
to tell everyone.
I think he does a really good job. Especially since there wasn't much to go off of. Like, now it's like you have... Like, if you've been cast as a Joker in a new Batman movie, you have Jack Nicholson to compare yourself to. Or fans will compare you to.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, like, all these different actors. Joaquin Phoenix. But back then, like, who was the other thing? Cesar Romero? Like, you know what I mean? Like... So he really did a lot to kind of establish, like, what the Joker is like.
Maybe he read some comics. Was he like that in the comic books?
No, yeah, I'm just saying, but how do you then, some of this shit is fine on the page, and then you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous and dumb, right? So, though I wish, again, they had done a little bit more, like, if you're gonna give us a backstory, like, give him a little bit more motivation. Like, it seemed like at the start they were setting up, like, this interesting, like, crime drama conflict where it's like he wants to rise to the top, but like he's like the number 2 guy, but Grissom doesn't want him to.
Yes.
I guess Grissom was played by a really famous like actor. So when he's like, "You are my number 1 guy," and he's like really dramatic when he says that to Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Apparently Jack Nicholson later says that to his number 1 guy.
Yeah.
That was improvised on set. Like he was just, oh. Sorry about that. I have the outro music set up in the like audio file, and I have it around an hour and 45 minutes because that's usually roughly how long our episodes are. But we've been talking for so long that it just started playing. So I'm muting the channel, so we should be okay to go forward. But
this is why I tell you to turn down your devices when we do this.
I know. Anyway, but what was I saying? Oh, he improvised, like he was impersonating that actor. Like that wasn't in the script for Joker to also say that to his number 1 guy.
Yes.
He was just like, oh, Jack Parlance, who I think was the actor, like said it in such a funny way. I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah.
So I'm saying there was like this interesting conflict, right? Where it's like he wants to rise to the top now.
Yeah.
But then they kind of drop it after he kills Grit. Like then it's just kind of like whatever. Like
that's a thing though, right? He's a good improviser. Some people are good improvisers.
Jack Nicholson? Yeah.
Yeah, because then he shoots him.
But yeah, like the story feels very much like I really never get to inhabit any of these characters. Like it always feels like we're on the outside looking in. I feel that way about Bruce especially, right? Like I feel like we never really get into his headspace.
What I thought was interesting was like the scene with Alfred and how like they were getting really personal, and he was like telling like a cute little anecdote about like Bruce when he was a kid, but like we don't really get much else, or
he doesn't really have a personality. That's
like,
what I was trying to say. Like,
we don't really get much insight into their relationship, which I guess is not a super big deal, but like I feel like that's kind of part of it because that's his pseudo parent now, because like.
Basically raised him, yeah.
Yeah, because when does that happen? Like when he's like
8.
8? Oh,
8 or 9.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean and I mean he knows what he's doing, and I think in the Christian Bale ones he even comments like he's like,
we brought up those ones a lot. You can't compare. They are probably the definitive Batman, for better or for worse. You know what I mean? So it's like everything is. Before, after, you compare to that
I mean,
stuff.
because we get insight into their relationship then, and he's like, dude, like, you're coming home at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning covered in bruises, like, your lips all busted up, like, why don't you take a break? Like, are you okay? Like, so it's just interesting to have that one little snippet. And it not even really be a scene, because it's a push-in shot, so it's like he starts talking before we even see them. But then not get much else.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I guess like when he's shutting the vault, but I mean, I wouldn't say that was really deep. That wasn't a very long conversation.
No. I love how the Joker's plan is to put poison in cosmetic products. And like personal hygiene, like deodorant.
Yeah.
So then no one uses makeup, so then all of the news anchors are ugly because the implication is that they're only like beautiful because they're always like, even the men, like he has all pimples on his face or whatever.
Yeah, because the news anchors, they use makeup because the lighting is so bad, it's like so bright and stuff that
you need like the blush, even the dudes.
Yeah, even the guys, they'll like do at least just a little bit, even for just like shine control or something. Because
Yeah.
it's just like
So much light, yeah.
bright lights on
Because then you start sweating, and then the water is now shiny. And everything.
Yeah.
But again, it fits in this 80s, like, that's the evil plan, to disrupt the economy. It's like 80s consumerism. It's a shopping nightmare. I think someone says that exactly. It's a shopping nightmare.
Because you don't know what it is.
But apparently it's not just any individual things, it's like in combination.
It's so like a bunch of stuff.
The shampoo isn't poisonous, but the shampoo mixed with the deodorant, mixed with the lipstick.
Yes!
Oh my
It's
gosh.
so diabolical! Also, since they say he went to school for chemistry, since when?
The Joker?
Yeah!
Yeah, I don't
They
know.
were like, what did they say? He was like, chemistry and political science or something like that?
I don't know.
Or like sociology? I don't know, something like that. I thought it was so strange. I was like, I didn't know the Joker was a scientist.
I don't know. But yeah, there's Prince music in this, but specifically the musical sequence when they're kind of jaunting around the museum and defacing the paintings.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. The camera work, the music, he's bouncing around. It's the camera's bouncing, he's bouncing. It's just
to show how harmfully carefree he is.
What would that be if they did that today? Would he be listening to like what would he be listening to today that would be just as cringy? Because I'm sure that was cringy back then too.
I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe like Ariana Grande.
Yeah, like sure, something
know.
like something like trendy on TikTok or something. It'd just be like weird, like.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't label Prince as simply trendy.
It's like in Black Panther when it's like when they're like, "What are those?" I mean, like the style of music, like why, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you very much dated. Like even a year from now, this is gonna be really dated.
No, it was dated back when it came out.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It was like trending like a year before, like 2 years before or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it was like really new and like funny, but at that point it was just like, oof.
Yeah.
Ryan, why did you leave this in here?
You could have easily taken that out. They literally put Carrie Fisher in the 9th Star Wars movie. She was fucking dead. You're telling me you couldn't have taken out that one part when they say, "What are those?"
They should have added Chadwick. Oh, R.I.P. Chadwick.
Yeah. Rip.
He got cancer.
He did get cancer.
Shit. And now all we have left to remember him is, what are those?
Yeah. I love the Batmobile from... I love different Batmobiles from different movies. Like, I think they all have their different charms, and they fit that version of Batman really well.
Yeah.
Like, I like how the Robert Pattinson one, it's really just like a Cadillac. But, like, he souped it up.
Yeah.
But this is probably the...
It's very Batman-y.
But this one's probably the most iconic, like, the most comic booky. I think it's a huge inspiration for the animated series one. Like, it looks like a shoe. Like this long, like...
Yeah, kind of like a, what is it?
It's very Art Deco. Like this, and then the anime series is very much inspired by like Art Deco design, like the curves, and then like the, with and then a perpendicular angle, right? It's a lot of that kind of style.
Yeah, whereas like the other ones were literally just cars.
Because again, I think the things I like about this movie the most are like the aesthetic qualities, right? Like the Batcave is very spooky and expansive, compared to just like the room in the serials, and then like a laboratory in the West one. This one has like a lot of ambiance.
Why?
It really feels like a cave, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, that's true, and I think they do that later on too.
It's
it's more cave-like, and yeah, that's where he keeps all his tools and toys.
His toys,
gadgets. But why does he have one bat in a cage when the rest are free?
That's true.
I was wondering about that. But also, yeah, it kind of looks like Hermes' shoe, like
Hermes. Who's Hermes?
Hermes, the messenger.
Oh, yeah, from the Greek mythology.
Yeah,
I think it meant Hermes from Hermes from Rudolph, right? The elf, the gay elf who wants to be a dentist. No. Is it Hermes? With not? It's singular. Hermes. Yes, one Hermes.
One Hermes. No, like
Hermes doesn't want to make toys.
I want to be a dentist. Oh my gosh, you have so many cavities. Let me help you. He's so silly. He's like, oh, the abominable snowman is nice now because I took away his toothache. It's so silly. But no, like, you know, like a shoe with like the wings on it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of like shaped like that a little bit, like very loosely. Because it.
How do you turn in that? It's so long.
No, he did the thingy. He did the grapple, and then he turned.
Because I'm thinking, like, I always think about that with, like, 18-wheelers. So it's like, how do you turn at an intersection?
Very carefully and rather slowly. But I guess because he was in a chase, he couldn't do that, so he had to do the grapple.
Yeah.
And
he did a little Tokyo drift.
Yeah, but he, of course, thank goodness there was a light post so that he could grapple it, and then, you know. But then how did the grapple come on?
These are the questions.
These are the questions!
Kid, it's not that kind of movie.
Also, when he uses these things, they're just out there now, or does he pick them up? You know, like what? You know, like in. Like,
he's just littering. He's just leaving a breadcrumbs.
You know, like in games, like I don't know if this happens in. I think it happens in Zelda, right? Like if you shoot something, but it doesn't like hit anything, then you can go pick up the arrow, or you could just like not go pick up the arrow. Like
it might like disappear.
Does he just like not pick up?
I think he just leaves it around.
He just leaves it around, so children have like bat-shaped ninja stars, just like.
A public health hazard.
There's just like shit on the black market. It's just like,
no.
Does he have Alfred go and pick it up for him?
Yeah. Totally unrelated. Can we talk about probably the most iconic line from this movie? You want to get nuts? Okay, let's get nuts. I could see maybe Batman saying that because it's very confrontational. Bruce, it's so out of character.
That was so out of character.
For the Bruce that they've set up.
Yeah.
But it's become iconic, like, it's like a meme. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, to the point, like, again, at the time of recording this, the new Flash movie hasn't come out, but it's supposed to have, like, the multiverse, and Michael Keaton is coming back to play, like, an older Batman.
No.
And I think he says... Well, I'm really nervous for this movie just being, like, Michael Keaton just saying all the things from the movie. Well, literally the trailer, he's like, you're, he's like, I know. I'm Batman. And then in the newest trailer, he's like, but he's just like dressed as Bruce Wayne. He's just like, he's like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And it's like, but anyway, my point being is that, like, it's become a meme. Like, it's become a very iconic part of this movie.
Because he didn't even say it like Bruce. Like, he said it like a completely different character.
He said like a crazy man.
Yeah, Bruce was nothing like that.
With Michael Keaton's little kind of like semi-lisp.
I guess so.
Oh, again, also kind of unrelated, but you were saying before, like, oh, you know, seeing your parents murdered in front of you probably does something to you. Literally, one of the lines of the movie is like, what do you suppose something does? So what do you think something like that does to a kid?
I didn't say that. I know that.
No, we were talking...
That happened to my dad. What do you mean?
No, I thought we were talking about it earlier. Like, you know, like he's gone through a lot of trauma. And it's like, but I don't think he was dressed up like a bat.
Oh, that...
No, I didn't say... Why are you getting all defensive all of a sudden? I'm just saying...
No, because obviously, yeah, that'll fuck a kid up. I think I was just saying, like in terms of...
It's just funny where it's like, little do they know the half of it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you want to know what it does to a kid? He decides to be a bat and fight people.
I guess because I think I was trying to touch on the kind of not forced, but like the legitimacy that is trying to be given or that is given to Batman as opposed to like a ski mask dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
I will say that the murder of his parents, like that scene is pretty well done. Like if I'm not mistaken, like there's no music and like. It seems like they ADR and do Foley for all the sound effects. It's like...
The pearls.
Like the pearls, which is an iconic Batman thing. Like the grabbing of her pearls is like a big... But it's like, you know, it's like there's no sound, but then you like hear the... they like build it all. They build out the sound design. Like, it's like very eerie and it feels like a memory. Like it feels like...
Yeah, that was good.
And that's when we get introduced to Jack Napier.
We don't know.
Well, no, I think the reason why we see the flashback is because... Joker says, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
In the second one. Not in the first one. In the first one, it's just from behind.
In the first what?
In the first flashback.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. I'm talking about...
In the second one.
Yeah, I'm talking about... I think that's what makes us see the second flashback is that Bruce hears that and he's like, he's like, yeah, that's what I always tell people before I kill them.
No, yeah, it was a triggered memory.
Yeah.
What?
I know. What?
what? If you yo me one more time.
Yeah. Sure. If only there were 4 Shark Tale movies. Then
that would be amazing.
If only there were 3 or even 2, but no, it was cut tragically short.
Well,
despite critical acclaim and being the first movie to make $1 trillion.
Because the budget would be so big because you got all these stars, like Katie Couric
and the starfish.
Sure. and like Will Smith and Robert De Niro.
Well, I think you probably get Will Smith for much cheaper now.
And also
after his
Martin
controversy. Anyway.
Does everyone hate him now? He's simply defending his wife.
No comment. I don't really care one way or the other.
10 years. That's a big thing for an actor.
People will be like, I was traumatized when I was there, and people were like, what? not to be,
sure.
not to minimize anyone's trauma, but like, really.
I'm sure it's shocking, but I mean...
Literally, at the 1973
the
Oscars, when Marlon Brando sent that Native American lady to accept his award, like, he refused to go.
Yeah.
And basically, she made a speech about how, like, Hollywood has demonized Native American people. And literally, people booed. And John Wayne, you don't see it in the telecast, John Wayne literally got up, he wanted to fucking punch her.
What?
He had to be restrained. Because John Wayne was, like, super arch-conservative, like...
Well, yeah, and he's also, like, the pinnacle, like, cowboy, so,
Exactly, like, he literally, like...
Don't demonize my only...
But that's fine, but it's like... People, like, make it... It's about race, because it's like, when a black man does something, it's, like, always, like, the end of the world. But, like, if a white guy does it, it's, like, fine.
Just walk down the street in New York City, you'll see something much worse. Like, like... a slap ain't nothing.
So, yada yada yada. Things happen. Batman pursues the Joker. Then we end up at like this church, which is like 50 stories tall.
So tall.
It kind of feels like the same ending as Beetlejuice, where it's like this like forced marriage all of a sudden.
They weren't getting married.
Oh, it seemed like that because she was wearing like this white dress, and he was like, "We gotta go to the cathedral."
Yeah, I guess so. No, but they were. Also, when did she change into that? I don't think that's
what I'm saying.
I don't think that's what she was wearing beforehand.
Yeah. Because at first you think this movie, oh god, this movie has this love triangle between Bruce and Vicky and Knox. But really, it's a love triangle between Vicky, Batman, and Joker.
But maybe she was wearing that the whole time, but I only noticed when they were in the church, and I was like, wait, when did she change into this? But... no, they don't go to get married. They go up to the top because the Joker, he's got his goons to come and pick him up in the helicopter.
Yeah.
But, he was like, "Oh, pick us up in 5 minutes." And then he looks up and he's like, "Actually, make that 10." Because it's so fucking tall. Also, why is there this, like, crusty, abandoned church in the center of town? Like,
That's like taller than the World Trade Center. This thing is so fucking tall.
Batman comes in and he knocks over all the pews.
like dominoes.
Like they're not even bolted to the floor. It's all dusty. There's spider webs and the pews are falling over.
Yeah.
Why is this here?
It's just
why is this large building not being used?
For something.
For anything.
For even just worship. It's a pretty cool place for, I guess, a fight, like a climactic battle.
But he does. This is the second climactic thing in an attic, because in Edward Scissorhands, that one ends with the attic too.
Oh yeah.
When he's fighting the boyfriend, yeah.
Oh. He likes attics. Something always spooky's going on in an attic.
Maybe he watched the graveyard from his attic. I don't know.
Attics are spooky. Basements are scary. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And no, I won't elaborate. Anyway,
I think they're both bad.
But yeah, that's the movie. There's a lot of really good stuff, and then a lot of stuff that really annoys me. That's the thing. I don't think there's anything in this movie that's bad. It's just that there's a lot of stuff that just annoys me. That just makes it like unpleasant for me to watch. I'm sitting there just going like, But do I hear some trivia?
More?
Oh, that was just the research. This is fun stuff.
What the fuck? Hurry up!
Okay. You know what? Listen, we got Batman episodes that are gonna be like 30 minutes long.
Legacy, modern.
Ma'am, what? Why are you reading ahead?
I'm only reading the subtitles.
Okay.
Oh, man.
These are funny. You love the trivia. You're a trivia
You
slut.
already said the thing about the logic freak.
I know. I put it both times by mistake. I'm skipping to the next one.
You're doubling info.
No, it was a mistake because I write the research months before, but I don't do the trivia until after we watch it, just in case if I haven't seen the movie before, so I don't spoil myself reading the trivia.
Yes,
but sometimes I'll double dip by accident because I don't remember what I did for the research.
Wait, don't proofread your work?
I don't want to read all. This was a lot of research. I don't want to read it again. Okay. Michael Keaton was unable to hear while wearing the bat suit. He said that his claustrophobia helped him get into character and in the proper mood to play Batman. Quote, it made me go inward, and that's how I wanted the character to be. That's how I wanted the character to be anyway, to be withdrawn. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting.
Oh, wow.
Jack Nicholson loved his performance in this film so much that at one point he was watching the film once a week at his house.
That's weird.
In the film, the Joker has to mask his chalk white... This one's really cool, because I was wondering how they did this. So, in the film, the Joker has to mask his chalk white face by painting himself flesh-colored.
Yes.
In the script, because in the world of the story, his skin is now white.
Yeah.
Right? But in real life, Jack Nicholson has white makeup on. So how do you have him have skin color and then wipe off the skin color?
Yes.
In the script, it was specified that the Joker would have to take the flesh-colored makeup off to reveal the white skin underneath, meaning the makeup effects team had to find a way to take off one layer of makeup while leaving another intact. I thought they would just have him in the flesh-colored, and then not have white underneath, but just have like the rag have white paint.
Yes, I thought
that's what I thought they did.
That's what I thought. I thought that's why he used the rag, was because it had white paint.
That seems simpler, right?
Yes.
But Nick Dudman, the makeup designer, did something different. He came up with a solution.
Nick!
They painted Jack Nicholson with white Pax, P-A-X, paint that they always used, and then put a thin layer of food-grade silicone oil, which nothing sticks to, on top of it. They then took flesh-colored grease paint and painstakingly painted it where it was literally sitting on top of the oils. Then they airbrushed and faded it to make it look natural.
What the fuck?
After soaking the Joker's handkerchief in isopropyl alcohol, Nicholson was able to wipe at his face and it would strip off the grease paint but leave the white paint intact.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that really cool? But also, just put some white paint on the rag.
No, but you know what? They do use it later on. So there's the rag, right? But then I think he either uses the rag more or I don't know. He just looked really sweaty, but I think he uses the rag more. And then they show him, and it's like the skin-colored makeup.
It's like streaking down his face.
Yeah, like running down his face.
I think that was just clever editing. Like they were able to just make up his face look like that for that shot. I was thinking that too.
No, I think they probably ran some water or something over his face, right?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But if you did that, then the streaks would be flesh colored. But the idea would be that the streaks are white because the streaks are where the flesh colored.
No, the streaks weren't white. The streaks were flesh colored because the makeup he was wearing, the Joker was wearing, was coming off, was melting off his face.
I see. Okay.
Interesting. Also, that must have smelled then.
It must. I think it was like he had to spend a lot of time in the makeup chair every day.
Yeah.
Too. We probably ate into it. If he had in his contract only working 8 hours a day. Yeah. Upon seeing the initial life-size polystyrene model of the Batmobile, Tim Burton turned to the art director and said, "Great, where's the door?" The design team suddenly realized that the design lacked any doors, so that's why I think it's like a sliding cockpit, like he jumps into it.
Oh, okay.
Like he doesn't open a door.
Yes.
For its first video release, the film was graded slightly lighter, as cinema audiences had complained that it was filmed so dark that they could hardly see what was going on.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing, it is a pretty dark movie, probably even, especially back then, for them. A scene was cut from the parade sequence where the crowd discovered that all the money that the Joker was handing out was counterfeit. In a follow-up to the Joker's earlier line that he wanted, quote, "my face on the $1 bill," all the dollar bills that were thrown to the crowd had the Joker's picture on it in place of George Washington.
Why'd they take it out?
I don't know. And that's also why when they're in the...
That'd be a funny one.
That's also when they're going through the museum, there's the famous unfinished Gilbert Stuart, who painted from Rhode Island. Gilbert Stuart painting a portrait of George Washington. He's like, oh, $1 bill.
Yeah.
So there's like this through line about the $1 bill or something.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't have minded that through line.
Yeah. I would not have minded that through line.
No, I mean, it's not like I said it would be funny, but
yeah.
I don't care if it's in it either way, but that's just interesting that was the scene that they cut when there was something to relate it back to, as opposed to the whole fucking Vogue situation.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Michael Keaton stated that the crew would tape basketball games for Jack Nicholson, as he would come in and watch them the next day while his makeup was added. One day, when by his own admission Jack was so frustrated that no game was on, he turned on the only sport available on the four TV channels in the UK, because that's where they filmed it. And that game was the 1989 BDO World Darts Championship. The next day, as he passed Michael Keaton on the set, he looked at him and asked, "How about that dart game?" To which both he and Michael burst out laughing.
Why is he so obsessed with sports?
I don't know. He likes sports.
He loves b-ball.
He does. He's a huge Lakers fan. He'll go and just be chilling and on the court, they have those seats.
Courtside, yeah.
Sylvester Stallone has cited this film as to what led to the decline of muscle-bound action stars in the 1980s. And a change in how action films were made. In an interview, he said, quote, "It was the beginning of a new era. The visuals took over. The special effects became more important than the single person. I wish I had thought of Velcro muscles myself. I didn't have to go to the gym all those years. All those hours wedded to the iron game, as we call it."
Yeah, you should have just done prosthetics for Rocky.
Yeah. He's he was swole.
No,
Sylvester Stallone.
He's definitely probably the fittest he's ever been in his life, right? I mean, than anyone has been in their life.
In the fourth Rocky, absolutely. When he's he looks like a statue.
Yeah.
He's fighting the Soviet guy. The hooker in the opening scene. So the opening scene, we didn't talk about this, is the first thing we kind of follow this family who's out of town and doesn't really know how to navigate the city, and they're the ones who get mugged.
Yes.
And Batman fights the muggers. But it's so funny because they're "Don't scream," and then the wife goes, and she screams really loud.
Oh my god, that was so loud.
But anyway, but one of the things is they're walking by and the hooker tries to proposition right. Sure. The hooker in the opening scene was originally meant to be a 14-year-old.
Oh.
She was also going to be shown casually chatting with a couple of cops, showing us how corrupt the Gotham police were even before meeting Lieutenant Eckhart, who's a corrupt cop in the movie.
Yeah.
Very very brave for. I can see that happening in one of the newer ones, but
interesting. What is with the young girls? Get over young girls.
Young girls, out of style.
They ain't got no boobs. They ain't got nothing. They don't know about nothing. What's up with this obsession with young girls? Huh? What's wrong with ladies? What's wrong with the women over the age of 18?
Yeah. We need both sides this argument. We need to get someone who's in support of that.
I'm just saying.
To make it fair.
I
don't think you're being very fair.
I've just never understood the attraction to children.
Hot take.
I'm barely attracted to children as a child.
We really should put some trigger warnings on this.
Oh, sorry.
Someone listening to this might have a traumatic experience, and even just hearing us talk about it could trigger them, and they're gonna their whole week is gonna be ruined now because listening to us.
About what? I didn't say anything.
About child abuse.
I didn't say anything about child abuse.
Oh shit! I just said it. Oh no! Also, that's what we're alluding to.
Also, I was child abused. It's fine.
Oh shit!
It happens. I wasn't talking about anal contusions like iced tea or anything.
Anal contusions. It's so you telling me this guy gets his rocks off by looking at pictures of naked little girls?
I wasn't.
Ice-T always isn't that a John Mulaney bit where he's always you would think he would know everything about this because he's been working. He's he's someone who does this.
Yeah, on SVU, it's the specific
division
sexual violence. Yes,
but he's always so you telling me that some guys like when the girls don't want to have sex?
Why are you shouting? But I don't know why you're talking about this. Oh, because the thing, what was it with I think Pirates of the Caribbean 2, About it was supposed to be a young girl. Or no, Marion. Marion was
supposed to be like she wasn't going to be 14.
12.
She wasn't going to be 13 in the movie, but the idea was that when they had their affair, he was like 23 and she was like 12.
Yeah, what the fuck is a 12-year-old doing having an affair? You know what I had at 12? Math tests. That's what I had. Pimples and math tests. There's no time to be having affairs. Anywho, this weird thing that also in pre-production there was talk of a young girl being sexually promiscuous. And I think it's just a strange reoccurrence. That's all I wanted to say. Go to school, kids.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Adam West, who played Batman in the 60s, admitted that he was disappointed that he was not asked to reprise the role in the movie. Keep in mind, he was 61 in 1989. Also, in his 1994 autobiography, he stated that, despite belief to the contrary, he was never asked to make a cameo appearance as Thomas Wayne, which I guess there was a rumor of that, adding that he would have declined the role if it were offered to him. So he's like, that never happened. But if it did, I wouldn't have done it.
They could have asked him either for Thomas or even for Alfred, I think.
But he did kind of get his chance to be back in it when.
Well, yeah, but the animated one. But
yeah.
I think it'd be kind of a cute Easter egg if he was like Alfred or something.
Well, you know something, I don't know if you know this. One of the things we're gonna do in 2017, they got Adam West, they got Burt Ward, and they made not one, but two animated follow-up movies to the 60s show.
What?
And we're gonna watch those. So they voice their characters.
What? But to the 60s one? A follow-up?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it's not super plot heavy, but I just mean it's the characters are drawn like the outfits.
Yeah,
it's meant to be like that's those characters.
Huh.
So we'll get to that eventually. But we still have a lot of other movies to get to.
Yeah. Good job, Bert, for not drinking too much alcohol that you die like the first Robin.
Like the first Robin. People talk about a Superman curse. There might be a Robin curse.
Oh shit! Maybe that's why they're not in these movies.
No, people are just too afraid. They're like, we were dying to put Robin in.
Because there's no reason for him to adopt a preteen boy and then run around Gotham City fighting crime with him. If anything, that's child endangerment, and the, what are they called? CPS or whatever, should probably take him away because he should be studying or playing with friends down the street. Well, if they had friends to play down the street, except it's just a giant-ass mansion in the middle of nowhere, but he should probably be doing child things instead of beating up goons. Anywho...
Jack Nicholson got into the habit of signing his Joker gloves and giving them away as gifts to visitors on set, much to the chagrin of costume designer Bob Ringwood. Ringwood then asked Nicholson to cease giving out the gloves, and although he promised that he would, he kept doing it. New gloves were constantly being made throughout the film. Ringwood estimated that there must have been hundreds of signed Nicholson Joker gloves.
That's so annoying. Is Jack Nicholson a mean man?
Mean or meme?
Mean.
No, but I'm sure
Well,
he's...
I mean...
I think he's a meme.
He's been he watches his own movies weekly, and then also keeps giving out signed autographs.
I don't know.
Poor Bob. He's just like, oh man, I gotta make more gloves. There was no Amazon back then. He can't just get next day delivery. Ugh.
Yeah, this is gonna be forever if you keep going on random tangents every time I bring up a trivia point.
I'm sorry.
You're like, this reminds me of the supermarkets.
There's just so much to talk about.
Tim Burton remembers first meeting Prince on the soundstage of the Batcave.
Oh, he came to set?
I guess so.
Cool.
In 1989, Patrick McClin, a college student from Richmond, Virginia, won the engine-free prop offered in MTV's promotional, quote, Steal the Batmobile contest.
Ah.
So he won it didn't have an engine, but he won a Batmobile.
Cool.
He intended to loan the prop to local conventions and museums, but he had signed a contract preventing him from profiting off of its exhibition. At one museum, the shift lever was stolen. The car was also taxable as property and led to an IRS audit.
What?
Eventually, due to mounting expenses from a motorcycle accident and all the prize's $10,000 assurance and premium, McClin was forced to sell the Batmobile at a paltry sum.
Literally, fuck you, Warner Brothers, because you're gonna give him this thing that's gonna cost him a bunch of taxes, but he can't make the money to pay said taxes.
Yeah.
Rude.
Tim Burton was sick pretty much every day working on the movie.
What? Why?
I don't know.
Get some vitamins.
Like I said, this is IMDb trivia. I give no way to verify any of this information.
Tim, take care of yourself. Get some vitamin C. Get some smoothies. Derma juice or something.
I think this next bit just refers to like movie versions or like just cinematic versions. This version of the Joker has the highest kill count of any Joker incarnation. Huh. Interesting. Warner Brothers considered Bruce Payne to play Batman, so they could, in the marketing, have Bruce Payne as Bruce Wayne on their one-liner press marketing PR campaign. I guess Bruce Payne is an actor. Yeah, I think it's an actor. I think they wanted to hire him just because his name was Bruce Payne.
Oh, I thought they were just doing that to like get around copyright. Okay, no. It's a real man.
Bruce Payne has said that, quote, they drew up a very short list, and there I was on it. Obviously, I lost out in the end to Michael Keaton. This is the first Batman film to appeal to mature audiences, and as such was given the PG-13 rating. Again, everything else, the serials, the Adam West, it was always, like, adults could enjoy, but it was always targeted to kids.
Yeah.
And not to say this was not, but the idea was that, like, it could also appeal to them non-ironically. Like,
yes.
Like, Adam West, like, I like it because it's stupid. Like, I don't like it because I'm like, this is a really good portrayal of Batman. You know?
Yeah. Like, this one you may not want your kid to see, or like...
It could be kind of dark, especially the second one, supposedly, is like much darker.
Yeah, or something like that, you know.
Sam Hamm has, who was one of the writers, has absolved himself from the sequence where Alfred leads Vicky to the Batcave, a move that didn't sit well with a lot of fans. Hamm said the scene didn't come from him, and that, probably from that scab, and that the day Alfred let someone in the Batcave would be his last day of employment.
She had already been there.
But she didn't know it was Bruce.
I don't know why he brought her there in the first place.
I think because he was like, he needs someone to understand him.
No, Bruce. The fuck? Just drop her off at her place.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you bring her? What?
I guess
my
that
would be too obvious to the bad guys. I don't know. Drop her at the police station or something. I don't know.
Here's my last trivia point. We already kind of talked about this a little. In the established Batman origin story, Joe Chill was the killer of Bruce Wayne's parents, not the Joker. But here's the reason why I bring this up. Batman creator Bob Kane approved of the twist in the origin story of having the Joker do it, which is interesting. Saying that if the story had been planned out ahead of time, he would have likely made the Joker the killer also. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like that, but I think there's something. It's not bad. It's not that I dislike it. It's just a different. It's kind of entering soap operatic, like you compared it to Shakespearean level of like poetic. It's like a little too poetic.
I think that would be.
It's like a writer being like, look how poetic this is. Like,
yeah. I think it could be done if done well, but I think that would be something kind of tricky. I guess sure we'll compare it to the Robin thing, and so it might just come off as kind of silly, a lot of the times. But I think that could work in some universes. I don't know about the whole pale moonlight dancing
in the moonlight.
Like, I don't know about having that corny ass line before, but
what does it even mean?
But like something else, maybe. I don't know.
That sounds like something you would say like Johnny Cash would say to someone before shooting them in the West or something.
Yeah, like something in a country song or like.
Johnny Cash say that? I shot a man just so I could watch him die.
I don't know. What, in Folsom Prison Blues or something?
I think that's in one of his songs. He says that, but
he's walking lines. He never went to prison, but he watched a movie about prison and then wrote the song.
Yeah.
He's John.
I think if we looked at the comparison, like the ratio of Batman stuff we're talking about to the overall episode, I think it's like 36% Batman.
Fuck you.
So let's talk about the critical reception. So, Rotten Tomatoes has a 73%, which I was surprised it was much lower. Like, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I thought other people really loved it, so I was surprised to see. These are at least critics. 73% gave it a positive review, and the consensus is, quote, an eerie, haunting spectacle. I don't know if it's really haunting. Batman succeeds as dark entertainment, even if Jack Nicholson's Joker too often overshadows the title character.
Ooh, they caught on to it, too.
Again, in terms of like that contemporary reaction, comic book fans, like we said, reacted negatively over the Joker murdering his parents. The songs written by Prince were criticized for being too out of place. Burton said he didn't have a problem with the songs, but he was less enthusiastic with the way they were used in the film.
I thought the first two were fine, but then the one in the credits seemed kind of off.
It was like a love song. Yeah, it was like really weird.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, Burton remarked, quote, like referring to the film, quote, I liked parts of it, but the whole movie is mainly boring to me. It's okay, but it was more of a cultural phenomenon than a great movie. So even he's just kind of like, meh, whatever. Look, if your director's saying it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, because unless you're someone like Tarantino, or I guess at this point, like George Lucas, like, unless you have complete and total say over everything, you're not necessarily gonna like everything that's in the final product, even though your name is on it, you know, like.
Roger Ebert, who's like a famous critic, probably the most famous film critic ever.
I ain't never heard of him.
Well, he was really famous because he with Gene Siskel, they had a show Siskel and Ebert, and that's where the phrase 2 thumbs up comes from. So basically, that's how they would rate them. Is like they would each decide they're giving a thumbs up or thumbs down. So if a movie had 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert,
I think I've heard of that.
It's very ubiquitous. Right?
Yeah.
So
no, I've heard of the 2 thumbs up. I think I've heard of that show.
Yes, Siskel
with the boys
the 2
doing
men.
Doing the thumbs.
I don't know if they're boys. They were pretty old.
Men.
But Roger Ebert was he's very insightful, but he's also very accessible. So that's why he's like really famous. But when he reviewed it, he was highly impressed with the production design, but claimed, quote, Batman is a triumph of design over story, style over substance, a great looking movie with a plot you can't care much about. He also called the film, quote, a depressing experience.
I would agree with the first sentence. I don't know about the depressing experience, but yeah, I would agree with that. That's a good synopsis.
But on Siskel and Ebert, his reviewing partner Gene Siskel disagreed, describing the film as having, quote, a refreshingly adult approach, end quote, with performances, direction, and set design that, quote, draws you into a psychological world.
I would agree with that as well.
I disagree, Gene, because I don't think it's psychological enough. I don't feel like we really get into the headspace of any of the characters.
Well, maybe not performance.
It feels like just action figures.
Set design definitely, and direction.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few things, but not. I wouldn't say like the performances necessarily.
Yeah. In terms of more modern reception, on Letterboxd it has a 3.6 out of 5. I think it's grossly overrated. Here's some reviews. Matt Singer writes, quote, my favorite part of my billionth viewing of Batman is when Joker's goons shoot Batman. Rather than lift up his mask to see who he is, they decide to check if the man disguised as a giant bat carries photo ID. Bob the Goon literally says, check his wallet. Check his wallet? This is probably why he's Bob the Goon, not Bob the theoretical physicist.
When he said that, I was like, does he even have pockets?
I thought he just meant like take his money, but I guess it's to find look at his ID. Like,
does he even have pockets to be holding an ID?
Jamel Bowie writes, quote, I just want to talk to Michael Keaton about his decision to play Bruce Wayne as an alien, completely baffled by ordinary human behavior. And then Karen H. writes, quote, the thing about Jack Nicholson as a Joker is that he's thick, with 2 C's.
Oh. That's true. He's not... Some of them kind of paint Joker as this is not going to be so nice, I guess, to say publicly.
This one's not going to be so nice.
But, like, as kind of like crackhead skinny, like kind of wiry type of person.
Yes.
But Jack Nicholson, he's
a pretty wider frame.
Yeah, he's a medium man.
But in the comics, he was always kind of like a scrawny kind of...
Yeah.
In terms of the legacy of the film, so Anton first appeared young won the Academy Award for Best Art Direction. Like, they won. Nice. While Nicholson
Careful there.
was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor, Musical or Comedy. He did not win.
Oh.
Only nominated. The success of Batman, this film, prompted Warner Brothers Animation to create the acclaimed Batman the Animated Series. As a result, beginning the long-running DC animated universe, so like stuff like Batman, the Superman show, the Justice League show, like these were all like, before the MCU, this was like a interconnected continuity with all these characters.
They have those super pets now.
That's unrelated. And it also helped establish the modern day. This film also helped establish the modern day superhero film genre. The animated series co-creator Bruce Timm stated that the television show's Art Deco design was inspired from the film. Tim commented, Tim as in Bruce Timm, not Tim as in Tim Burton. Tim is with 2 M's. Bruce Timm is his last name.
They can't see the Tims.
That's why I'm saying it. Bruce Timm commented, quote, our show would never have gotten made if it hadn't been for that first Batman movie. So it was really influential. Burton joked, quote, "Ever since I did Batman, it was like the first dark comic book movie. Now everyone wants to do a dark and serious superhero movie. I guess I'm the one responsible for that trend." Because again, like there hadn't been many superhero films before this, and the ones that were Superman films, and those were always pretty light-hearted. And
yeah, I guess so. The fact that his entire planet gets blown up, but yeah,
Superman's very light-hearted. Come on, it's not bad. It's not dark.
His entire species is eradicated.
Yeah. Reflecting on the 20th anniversary of its release in a retrospective article on Salon.com. Film commentator Scott Mendelson noted the continuing impact that Batman has had on the motion film industry, including the increasing importance of opening weekend box office receipts, the narrowing window between a film's debut and its video release that caused the demise of second-run movie theaters, and the accelerated acquisition of pre-sold properties for film adaptations that could be readily leveraged for merchandising tie-ins. The primacy of the MPAA PG-13 as the target rating for film producers, and more offbeat, non-traditional casting opportunities for genre films. So it's pretty influential for all those reasons. For better or for worse, though, because some of those things aren't good. I don't want to yay Tim.
Well,
destroying the second-run movie theater.
No, it said.
No,
I thought
because
it caused that.
One of the things that it did was the window between a film coming on theaters and then it being released on video shrunk.
Yeah.
But a big thing, you still kind of have them, but a big thing back then, especially before home media, was you had like second-run theaters. So you would go see a movie that came out like a year ago, right? Okay. But those theaters basically fell apart once video became a thing, and video came out so soon after the movie was out in theaters.
Well, now you can do all-run theaters now. So it's not just second rate. That's a limited market, right? So now you got the reruns, and then also, like, the classic bringer-backers, you know?
The classic bringer-backers.
You know?
No, but you only see movie theaters bring back old movies if it's, like, a movie everyone really likes. Second-run theaters would take the movies, just the slate. Like, whatever was released in theaters, they would just then get it 9 months later and now show it. Like, they're not showing, like, classic. Like, when you go to Alamo Drafthouse, yeah, they're going to show old movies. They're not showing random shit. They're showing stuff that they think people will want to come to and like.
I'm saying they have the opportunity to do that.
They do. Because, they never take it.
Because I think the second run is a bit of a limited market.
But not back then. This is the change, is what I'm saying. Is that it's a limited market now because of video. But before that, it was a bigger thing. But see, we talked about, again, the idea that you leverage the identifiable nature of the property to leverage that for merchandising potential and make money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember which ones exactly it was, but I mean, I've heard of films specifically changing in, like, characters and, like, you know, in order to be more merchandisable.
Yeah, because Star Wars obviously was huge for merchandising, but that was like an original movie.
There's not a lot to...
Whereas this was like the first where it was like, we are going to use the fact people know what Batman is to sell a bunch of merch.
Yeah.
Before the movie even comes out.
Yeah.
As opposed to Star Wars, like, the merchandising exploded, but not until May 1977.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To the point that they hadn't made enough of, like, the box set of toys.
Oh, didn't it?
They sold paper. They basically sold, like, a certificate.
Yeah, it was on back order for a long time.
For Christmas, because it wasn't ready for Christmas. So they were like, buy the certificate, and then, like, when we have them ready, you can get it.
Yeah, what if they never
And
called?
It worked!
Yeah.
And people bought it!
Did they call back? Did they get it?
Yeah, I think
they
so.
better have, or that'd be some shadiness.
Okay, this might be our longest episode. Favorite part? What's your favorite part of this movie?
Well, Tim makes good stuff, you know. Favorite part. Okay.
Oogie doogie.
I did enjoy watching the Joker. I
was watching you and
I
enjoyed
think
it.
I would say maybe the production design.
Yeah.
And the like Gothaminess, and it's like very steampunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think immediately when I saw it, it did like transport me into Gotham. Like it was its own thing. Yeah. You know. So yeah. So
I think I'm in the same boat. Like I'm kind of torn between like the mise en scène, as it were, and Jack Nicholson's performance. I think there have been better Joker performances. Like it's not, but I don't think it's Academy Award winning.
I just think
maybe Golden Globe
winning. I just
winning.
think in comparison to Michael Keaton. movie.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is just, I think it's
Sorry,
like...
sir.
It's just funny because the contrast is like, you have like dream casting next to terribly wrong casting.
Okay, I wouldn't say terribly. Gee.
He's just wrong for this character, I think.
You don't have to go 50,000 on him.
I'm going 50,000 on him.
50,001 now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Viviana, 1 out of 10. What are you giving this movie?
Well, on Letterboxd, I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I've been noticing
What?
you've been rating them before we talk.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't rate them. I talk about it and then decide the score, and then I put the score on my old thing. And also, it looks like you gave it a 3.5 out of 5, a 7 out of 10. Not a 3 out of 5.
I did give it a 3.5.
Shall we go to Letterboxd? I saw it earlier.
I said 3.5.
No. Oh, I think it said 3 out of 5.
No.
Oh, it's not. Oh, sorry. Continue.
You're proving me wrong. You're trying to prove me wrong over half a star.
Half a star makes all the difference.
Anywho.
So that would be a 7. So you're giving it a 7 out of 10?
No, I think I'll give it a 6.
But you could change your score.
Well, this is my podcast score.
It was for the same viewing.
No, I know, but this is a different measurement.
Why?
Because this is out of 10.
But you can
just,
multiply.
No, I know.
It's equivalent.
I know. Yeah, but this is post-evaluation.
That's why you shouldn't give it a score.
That's my after-watching evaluation.
Oh, okay. So you give me a 6.
So
okay.
it's like 2 evaluations, like
okay.
double the viewing, but without the second viewing.
Oh, okay. So you gave the 2 serials both 6s. You put Batman and Robin better than the horribly racist Batman.
Of course.
So where does this fit in? Is it better than both of those 2?
Yeah,
You don't seem so sure. You really like Batman and Robin.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, let me change that to a 7, actually, because I just...
Do you think it's good?
Yes.
Then it's a 7.
I know, I don't know, it seems very high, but then also a 6 seems very low, so I don't know. I'm gonna put this...
Well, you
I guess above Batman and Robin?
Well, yeah, because you gave the Adam West 1 an 8, and you gave Batman and Robin a 6, so this is 7. It goes right in the middle.
Oh, I did the other one an 8?
Yeah. So you're giving this a 7.
Okay, yeah.
So that automatically will place it there. It's gonna be really interesting when we watch like 20 or 30 of these, and it's like, how do we place them and stuff? And,
oh yeah, we're gonna...
Well, you just look at it by the score, right? So all the 6s have to be below all the 7s.
Well, do you post on more than just Instagram?
I post them on Facebook and
Twitter and stuff?
Yeah, I share the episodes,
then
yeah.
We might have to share our lists at the end.
I usually put it in the episode description of the retrospective episode.
Yeah, because
also, I refuse to change the
too
script in case we ever want to use it. I don't know if you've ever tried to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I haven't posted on Twitter since like our 3rd episode. Well, because Twitter has become a hellhole. And also, I wasn't getting any, and also, I just wasn't getting any feedback or response on it.
Because you're on Twitter all the time, so you might as well just flip over to the other account.
It's a whole thing. But anyway, so I'm going to give this film...
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think it's okay. I think it's a net positive. There's stuff I definitely like, but if I never saw this again, I wouldn't be ecstatic, but I wouldn't be upset. So I'm just kind of like, whatever.
You said that before, yeah.
So I gave Batman and Robin a 6. I think this is better by nature of it just being like a movie and not like a 4-hour installments.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put this would be my number 2.
Mine too.
So this is both of our. I think we have the same exact ranking right now, just different scores, but the ranking is exactly the same. The order. So right now your ranking. Once we get to too many films, I'm not gonna read it. But right now, your ranking from worst to best is. Racist Batman, Batman and Robin, Batman 89, and then Adam West Batman. And mine is exactly the same. So yeah, I feel like right now we're kind of in lockstep right now. So I'm interested to see how that starts to maybe divert from one another. But what was I saying? Oh, I know what I was saying. That's it for this week's episode of Now That's What I Call a Franchise.
What?
Next week, what? Next week we'll be watching the next film in the franchise, the 1992 film Batman Returns, and we will return as well. Viviana, where can they find us?
Well, as we said,
Even though I don't post at one of these places.
Well, maybe if you get more involved.
You're the social media person.
No, I'm talking to the listener.
Oh, I thought you were going to chastise me.
No, I'm saying if you guys get more involved, then maybe we'll do some more stuff, But right now, it's too extenuous for little to no return. Anywho, but you guys can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Franchise Podcast.
We know you have many podcasting options, and we thank you for choosing us. Peace out, guys.
Later.